Game 5 of the Adams Division Final between the Quebec Nordiques and Montreal Canadiens did not come off as expected. The Montreal Forum crowd was burning with excitement, hoping their team would move one game closer to the conference championship. But after the Canadiens took a quick 1-0 lead, the Northmen from Quebec sent the Forum customers into a deep depression. Strong goaltending from rookie Mario Gosselin was a major factor, as Quebec stunned their bitter rivals with a convincing effort. The intimidation in this provincial uncivil war continues to escalate as the demilitarized zone gets narrower and narrower. At times, this duel doesn't look like hockey at all. For Game 6, we move to Quebec City. The Montreal Canadiens, down a game and facing elimination, are sending in their final assault arsenal. If they're successful, they can go back home for one more game. Get set for another battle as the Canadiens duel the Nordiques, live next on USA. The Stanley Cup playoffs on USA are brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Stroh's and Stroh Light, fire brewed for smoother taste. Stroh's, official sponsors of the National Hockey League. By Mobil Super Unleaded Gasoline, higher octane for better performance. And by the only jeans that shrink to fit you and you alone, Levi's Button Fly 501 Blues. Good evening, everybody. I'm Al Troutwig in Quebec City, wondering whether a sporting event's importance can be judged by the number of television cameras there are covering it. Because if that's true, tonight is a biggie. 16 television cameras at Le Colisée in Quebec City tonight. And they should provide just about every angle on every replay on every conceivable play in this Game 6 of the Adams Division Final. As a matter of fact, if someone gets shortchanged at the concession stand, we should have a replay of that too. Now, this series has been an exciting one. Through the first 4 games, there were 2 overtimes. Quebec was able to win both of those. But then suddenly in Game 5, something went wrong with the Montreal Canadiens. They jumped in front, but then allowed the Quebec Nordiques to roar back and take the game by 4 goals. Now, in that game, after 2 periods, the superstar netminder for the Canadiens, Steve Penny, was withdrawn from the game and sent to the hospital with back spasms. So as we look ahead to tonight's game, we get the feeling that Penny will be okay. But if he's not, then this stick, the stick of Doug Sotart, will become the most important Canadian stick on the ice. Let's go to Al Albert and Gary Green for their thoughts.
Yes, Al, this series has lived up to its billing, the Battle of Quebec. It has been a very physical series, and Gary, it has taken its toll. As we get ready to start game number 6 tonight, the question isn't who is dressed tonight, but who is not dressed tonight.
And Al, there was a lot of rumors going around here today as to exactly that fact. For the Montreal Canadiens, first of all, Steve Penny. Well, Steve Penny will be in the net tonight, but Chris Chelios, their very valuable defenseman, he will not. Now, for the Quebec Nordiques, no one thought that Michel Goulet was going to play. He is, however, going to play in tonight's game. But the biggest surprise of it all is the fact that Dale Hunter, who apparently had an injured hand in Game 5 but played, will not play tonight.
Well, Al, it's very difficult to measure injuries. The irony, Chris Chelios has missed 2 games for Montreal in the playoffs, and Montreal has won both of those. Michel Goulet has missed 1 game for Quebec. That was game number 5, and the Nordiques won that game and won it big in Montreal.
Al, I now look back to Game 5. Our star of the game was Dale Hunter. After we finished the interview, I went to shake his hand. He said, "No, I don't think I can. My hand hurts too much." When the sport is baseball, the folks in Quebec City love the Expos, the team from Montreal. But when it comes to hockey, they do not. They do not love the Canadiens. Your ticket, front row at Le Colisée in Quebec City. We'll be back live on USA in a moment.
In Quebec City, the capacity crowd is standing awaiting the start of game number 6 between the Quebec Nordiques and the Montreal Canadiens. The Nordiques going into Montreal in game 5 and upsetting the Canadiens big by the score of 5-1, now have the upper hand in their backyard. As everybody's standing here at Le Colisée, as we will have the presentation of the Canadian national anthem. The crowd surprised by Michel Goulet, who initially was said to not to play in tonight's game. But late in the warm-ups, Michel Goulet made a dramatic entrance onto the ice and has stirred this Quebec crowd.
Well, as they are doing their formal introductions right now, Al, you can just tell that this crowd here is all set. They have come to see their Nordiques win this game number 6 here in Quebec.
The players are being introduced as the Montreal Canadiens really don't want to stand out here and watch all of this.
It's a real psychological ploy, I guess. Try to get the most motivation you possibly can for the home team. The Canadiens won't like it the least bit.
Yves Canton now will be singing the Canadian national anthem. The referee in tonight's game is Andy Van Helleman, and he'll be working with linesmen Kevin Collins and Swede Knox. In goal for Montreal it is Steve Penny, out of the hospital and into the nets, removed from game 5 after the second period because of back spasms. He will try it tonight, having started every playoff game for Montreal. For Quebec, it's the rookie Mario Gosselin. He has played all but one game for the Nordiques and is one of the big reasons that Quebec is just one win away from the conference finals. As we'll have the face-off at center ice, and the Montreal Canadiens, who during the regular season, Gary, came in here 4 times, won all 4 games.
Well, they are not concerned about playing in this building, but this man here behind the bench, Michel Bergeron, is concerned about the loss of Dale Hunter, no doubt. Dale Hunter, the feisty center iceman for the Nordiques. I don't know how they're going to replace him. They can replace Michel Goulet by juggling some wingers, and even Dale Hunter played wing, but replacing Dale Hunter is a big one.
Hunter, who scored an overtime goal to beat the Canadiens in game 3, and then in game 5 scored a goal and 2 assists to spark the Quebec effort. Ashton, number 9, is knocked down. Number 29 on the left wing for Montreal, Ron Flockhart, getting a rare start in this series as it is shot into the Quebec end. Curvers, number 18 for Montreal, slides it around, and Gosselin stops it. There for Gillis. On the left wing, Ashton can't get it out. Robinson, the shot, and hits the post off the crossbar. Gosselin did not see it. Almost 1-0 Canadiens in the first minute of play. And it is kept in by Montreal. Gosselin comes out. Flockhart for the Canadiens. The tip, score! McPhee right in front. and the Canadiens do score in the first minute of play.
Boy, that's a big goal for the Canadiens. Coming into tonight's game, priority was that they score early in order to get into it. Ron Flockhart was inserted into the lineup to add some offense and some speed. Now that's Flockhart right along the boards who just drifts that puck towards the net. You can see McPhee, number 35, right in front of the net, doing his job. Now does he get a piece of it, and is it a high stick? Now that was very, very close. Obviously right now that goal is being allowed. Let's look at it from upstairs angle. You can see McPhee coming into the picture, but it was below his shoulder, obviously, by the time that he touched that puck.
It was lifted after the puck had glanced off the stick, lifted by the defenseman over the shoulder. So at 45 seconds, McPhee scores his 4th goal against Quebec in this series. And Montreal on the attack. Nyland was right in front. And Rushmore sends it around. Again, the shot in front. And now the Canadiens looking to put anything on goal. Gosselin was shaky on that first shot that hit off the post and then ricocheted off the crossbar. Curvers plays it ahead to Gainey. Gainey goes outside of Rushmore. In front, Nyland. His shot is smothered by the defense. Ludwig from the point shoots it in, and the tip by Nyland. Still in front. Carbonneau swings and misses as Montreal putting the heat on from the opening faceoff, leading already by the score of 1-0, trying to send it back to Montreal for game number 7.
The Canadiens really swarming around this man, Mario Gosselin, early in this game. And that's not a bad idea. When you are faced with a hot goaltender, get in front of him, make those shots difficult for him. There you can see exactly the Canadiens, what they're doing. Number 17, Craig Ludwig from the point. All he tried to do was get that shot on net. He was able to do that, and again, a tip in. Gosselin's going to have some problems with those tonight.
Rick Green, number 5 for the Canadiens. Flockhart and Walter get the assists on McPhee's goal as Goulet is dumped. Goulet playing with the deep hip bruise that kept him out of game number 5. And Montreal busts back. Here is Tremblay. Tremblay over the blue line with Naslund, and he just rifles it behind the net. Out it goes to Ludwig. Looking in front, but it is stolen. And now Quebec comes back the other way. The first shot for the Nordiques, it's from Goulet, and Penny plays that one. Tremblay, who was the reason Dale Hunter is out. They got into a fight, and Hunter hit Goulet, or rather Hunter hit Tremblay in the mouth and got a cut on the hand, which is now infected, and that's why Dale Hunter is not playing. Bruce Bell, the long shot, and it sails high. Comes out on the near side where Boisvert shoots it to center ice. 1-0. Montreal leads on a goal 45 seconds into the game.
Michel Goulet out there for his first shift tonight. He was not tested with a body check, but you can be assured that the Canadiens will be testing him in that area every chance they get tonight.
Larry Robinson has room in front of his goal, and here they come the Canadiens busting out 3-on-2. Right in front. As Rooney swings and misses, and now Quebec back the other way. Marois, the long shot is wide. Cote bumping, and Robinson back the other way. A fast pace in the opening minutes. McPhee looking to go in again, but it is broken up. Rushmore, number 5 for Quebec, sails it up on the left wing to Cote. Here is Anton Stasny, back to Peter on the screen, the shot, and it is smothered. Anton tries to pick it loose. McPhee comes out along with Flockhart, and it's poked back the other way by Pat Price. Peter Stasny, one of the leading goals scorers in the playoffs, drops it, and Carbonneau gets back. Here's Price, the shot, kicked out by Penny and cleared back to Brad Maxwell on the Nordique defense, and it is shot in. Mark Kumpel chasing for it, spinning away. And Harry Robinson is in for the Canadiens. Robinson puts on the brakes, cross ice. He goes to Ludwig. And now it is Gainey. Takes a check from Maxwell, but keeps on going. Carbonneau, cross ice. But Nyland can't pick it out of the air. And then he bumps with Ashton. Breaking back the other way is Gillis. Gillis tries the outside track, and Bruce Bell shoots it wide. We have 15 minutes and 20 seconds to go in this first period. Moeller winding up for the Nordiques. Penny comes out for it. The Montreal Canadiens playing without Chris Chelios. Also, remember they lost Peter Svoboda, their fine young defenseman, in the second game. Paymont, 27, goes for it. Paymont behind the net, tries to center it in front. Alain Lemieux, number 28, was waiting for it there. And it is Randy Moeller starting it up again to Paymont. 3 Canadians are back. Moeller, he winds and fires wide from the other point. It is Maxwell. He shoots it side of the net. Saved by Penny with Alain Lemieux poised to fire it away right at the doorstep. Rashford sends it up, and Quebec with Goulet floating it in. Makes a line change. 14-15 to go in this first period of play. Montreal trying to hang on for survival here and force a 7th game back in Montreal. Rooney, 28. Marois slides it across. Cote to Anton Stasny. Looking for Peter in front. Cote staying with it. Cote, who plays up against the board so well. Scrapping for it. Still loose there. It is Carbonneau wrapping up Cote. Robinson clears it out on the right side. And it is Ludwig who shoots it off of Mario Marois. Right onto the stick of Cote. He has Anton Stasny. And getting back was Rick Green to smother that out and deflect it into the crowd. For our local systems, we'll pause now. USA Sports is bringing you the Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll be back in just a moment. 30 seconds to go in this first period. Montreal jumping in front 1-0 on the goal by McPhee just 45 seconds into the game.
Al, you'll notice that when Michel Goulet's been out there a couple of times tonight, he is definitely skating well. He had a good scoring opportunity.
Yeah, there was another one if Bruce Bell would have put it on net. Ryan Walter, the long shot, and Gosselin making it look good, but he never should have had to from 70 feet away. Bell behind his goal, taking a look. No penalties called yet in this game, which is uncharacteristic when these two teams get together. Ashton, who's been a star since coming over from Minnesota. Pat Price puts it behind the net. And Ryan Walter, you see 3 Canadians behind the net to help out. Kumpel, number 17. Here is Ashton. Ashton shoots, and it's blocked by the defense. And shot out to center ice. Brad Maxwell cruises back for it, and now rounds the net and starts out for the Nordiques. Maxwell turned around by Bobby Smith. Smith, who's the leading scorer for the Canadiens in the playoffs with 5 goals and 6 assists. To Rooney, across to Ludwig, streaking in. He winds and fires wide. Ludwig looking in front and saw the break, and now it's Quebec back the other way. Lemieux shoots, scores!
Two-on-one situation, the Canadiens get caught, but Alain Lemieux just lets go with a good hard wrist shot. That shouldn't have beat Steve Penny, not from that distance. Let's see it from up top. You will see exactly how much room Steve Penny gave up on the glove side low, and that's exactly where Alain Lemieux went for it. Craig Ludwig will have wished that he did not try to go for an offensive opportunity. Craig Ludwig, number 17 for the Canadiens, had gone down on an offensive rush, had gotten caught up, and as a result, Quebec Nordiques broke out on a 2-on-1, and at one point in time it was a 3-on-1 until it became then a 3-on-2.
Well, it looked like Montreal may have an opportunity to take a 2-0 lead with Ludwig coming in all alone, but instead it becomes a 2-on-1 the other way, and the Nordiques have tied the score at 1 apiece with 12 minutes left in the first period. We'll be back after this. For spinning around, knocked to the ice by the stick of Gay. Here's Anton Stasny, but he is virtually all alone. So he decides to take the shot from afar. Curvers for Montreal, and now we have a penalty coming up. Andy Van Hellemond making the call against the Canadiens. So the Canadiens struck first, but now it's Quebec picking up the pace.
Here's as though it is going to be a hooking penalty that has been handed out to number 23 of the Montreal Canadiens, the captain, Bob Gainey. Andy Van Hellemond didn't waste any time in making that call. Now this will give the Quebec Nordiques a very important opportunity on the power play deep in the Canadiens' end zone. Let's take a look at it. You can see number 5, Rochefort, going into the corner. Now this is where Gainey just knocks Rochefort over, but he did so in such a way that it resulted in a hooking penalty to Gainey. And the Canadiens are faced with killing this 2 minutes off.
8:34 is the time. That Lemieux goal, the assist to Goulet at 7:51. Lemieux, who was inserted in the lineup in Goulet's spot in game number 5 and came up with a goal. And now he has scored his 3rd goal of the playoffs. Power play for Quebec. Maxwell at the point, across to Sauvé. And it is blocked, smothered by Carbonneau, who is very dangerous, killing penalties. This year he had 4 shorthanded goals. He has 1 shorthanded goal against Quebec. That helped to win a game. Here is Lemieux really flying. Goulet out to J.F. Sauvé. Sauvé being hit by Deblois. Robinson takes a rod, and now Ludwig comes in. Ludwig stays with it and shoots it out. Possible 2-on-1 for Montreal, but they call that pass over 2 lines and play is stopped.
Al, interesting that just be... Uh-oh, we've got another one going. I didn't say another one. The first one of tonight's game.
It is Paymont on top for Quebec. And for Montreal, it was their goal scorer, Mike McPhee, who was tumbled down to the ice. The linesman, Kevin Collins, and Swede Knox right on top of the situation.
You can see how hot these players' tempers are, because there didn't appear to be anything that provoked that whatsoever. Way behind the play. Kevin Collins, the linesman, having a difficult time right now with McPhee.
For our local systems, we'll pause now. It's the Stanley Cup playoffs on USA. Norris Division, Chicago is in Minnesota, and we'll be seeing highlights of that game. Their opening face-off, though, still about a half hour away. You saw the dramatic comeback by the North Stars right here on USA. Now they bring it home, but still trailing the Blackhawks in that series 3-2.
Well, Al, we knew sooner or later that we would have another fight, because this series has been filled with them. Paymont ends up getting a high sticking penalty and a roughing penalty. McPhee getting exactly the same, so both players getting 4 minutes in penalties.
Still 1:24 in the power play for Quebec. Anton Stastny rifles that one wide. Goulet, number 16, but he can't get it out of Guy Carbonneau's equipment.
You know, I had started to say before that fight broke out, Al, that as soon as the Canadiens got their 1-goal lead, they really reverted into playing a very disciplined defensive style until that one rush. They played that way in game number 4 here, or I should say game number 5, when they won 3-1, playing very defensively.
Marois on the point, plays it behind. Goulet, who had 17 power play goals this year. He has 11 goals in the playoffs, 7 on the power play. Sauvé, a weak shot, and it's played off the boards by Peter Stastny. Marois puts it in front. It's bobbled, and Penny, and there's the whistle as Van Hellemond blows it down. By watching Penny, Gary, do you see if he perhaps is having problems with his back?
Well, Al, here's a perfect opportunity to see whether or not Steve Penny looks the least bit injured, and it doesn't appear to be. And I watched Penny in the course of the warm-up, and he seemed to be moving fairly freely. But the question is, as this game goes on, will Steve Penny be able to continue at that form? Well, he went down on that shot.
It could be one split save or sliding across the crease and trying to stack the pads. But Penny giving it the try. He has started every game for Montreal in the playoffs. He has been their man. 10 minutes and 16 seconds left in this first period of play. The Canadiens won and the Nordiques won. 51 seconds remain in the Montreal penalty to Bob Gainey. Peter Stastny will face it off. He has 18 points in the playoffs, just 2 goals, 16 assists, which ties him with the lead with Gretzky and Dennis Savard. Maxwell, and he booms that one wide. Ludwig plays it around. Peter Stastny back out to Maxwell. Stastny goes behind the back.
takes out the man. Maxwell has some room. Maxwell looks, goes cross ice. Bell fires, saved by Penny, who came way out to smother the shot. 25 seconds go in the Quebec power play. Lead pass intended for Sauvé. Now Sauvé chases after Rick Green, and Green touches the puck, and we have the infraction against Quebec.
Only 16 seconds remaining on Bob Gainey's penalty right now. You can see Rick Green, the big defensive defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. They really need him to play a good, solid game defensively tonight for this team. I had mentioned, in fact, I have to correct myself, it was game number 4 here in Quebec that the Canadiens played so defensively and won 3-1. Rick Green was a big part of that game. They went with 4 defensemen, and the Montreal Canadiens ended up, as I say, winning the game and winning it extremely on the defensive note. Now, whether or not they will continue in that fashion tonight, it's difficult to do that when it is a tie hockey game.
Quebec has scored 7 times on 28 power plays against Montreal. With all their guns, they really were not a good power play team in the regular season. Deblois off the faceoff with just 10 seconds now left in the penalty to Bob Gainey. So the Nordiques running out of time as they have to bring the puck all the way down ice. Moeller winds it around the boards. Ashton is waiting for it. He is crunched into the boards by Deblois. And now Green backhands it, and the penalty is over. So the teams are at equal strength. 9 minutes and 15 seconds left in this first period. All knotted up at 1 apiece. Deblois brings it out for Montreal. His pass too long, and Moeller wraps it the other way. A game of ping pong going on right now. Anton Stastny, he loses as the team's having problems getting unwound. Deblois can't accept that pass. And Gosselin brings it around the boards. Ashton over skates. The man right in front was Gosselin, but the Canadiens cannot get him the puck. Now he gets it himself. The man was still offside. It was Deblois. And we have the whistle. 8:46 left in the first period. Montreal won and Quebec won, and we will be right back. Teams are at equal strength. 8 minutes, 40 seconds left in period number 1. Canadiens trying to stay alive, need the victory tonight, trailing 3-2. Rooney turns and he shoots it wide. And it is Jimmy Mann off the pass intended for Cote. Ludwig chases back for Montreal and plays it to Curvers. A big back line for the Canadiens. Kept in by Marois, who bats it into the corner. Curvers, the rookie, slaps it around the boards. Smith, and it is shot back the other way. Here is Mann in the slot. Gilly's shot blocked by Curvers, and it comes back out to center ice. 8 minutes left in this first period. Marois being watched by the Canadiens. Smith for Montreal. Intended for Rooney, the rookie out of Providence College, and it is Marois rounding the net for the Nordiques. Jimmy Mann brought up for protection by Quebec. And this is Flackhart starting out with Deblois. Flackhart back and forth and fans on the shot. Kumpel battling with Flackhart. Maxwell reaches for it, but Deblois has it out to the point. Robinson fires, and it is deflected high. Walter keeps it in. Pat Price, he's turned around by Flackhart. Comes around to the blue line. Robinson and Sauvé gets it out. Ryan Walter plays it back to his zone. 7 minutes left in this first period. 1-1 the score between Montreal and Quebec. Here's Kumpel on a 3-on-2. Back to Sauvé. Pulls the trigger but wide. Goulet slaps it across the crease as Penny tried to find it in his skates. Maxwell slaps it behind, and now we have a whistle. And we will return after these words for our local cable systems.
Playoffs so far this season, and just before that, Ryan Walter, number 11 for the Canadiens, and Brad Maxwell, number 4 for the Nordiques. They almost went at it, and I think we will see plenty more of that as this game goes on.
The face-off to the left of Steve Penny. Peter Stastny, number 26, with his brother Anton, number 20, and Brent Ashton, number 9, on the ice for the Nordiques. A high-powered line here for Quebec. And it's the defensive line for Montreal with Gainey bringing it across. He has Carbonneau and Nyland with him. Carbonneau slides it in front. And it is Gainey who keeps in. Right in front to Carbonneau. He shoots. Scores! As the defensive line outfoxes the offensive line. And Montreal has taken a 2-1 lead.
You said it, Al. The two defensive players, the defensive line, Gainey, number 23 in the corner. He fed it out to number 21, Carbonneau, who just rifled that puck. Now watch where Carbonneau gets it and watch how much room he has to get rid of that shot. He just let it go. Good wrist shot. And this is a great angle. You'll see Carbonneau just coming into the lower right of your screen. He rifled that shot and it beat Gosselin.
Carbonneau scores his 4th goal of the playoffs, and now the Canadiens lead it by the score of 2-1. Goulet rushes in, and Penny clears it aside. Gainey gets the assist. 13:26 is the time of the goal. Here is Goulet looking in front, and Mario Tremblay comes back for Montreal. The long pass up ice as Naslund circles back to get it started for the Canadiens. So for the second time, Montreal has a 1-goal lead. As Naslund winding it up, puts it on goal. Gosselin very shaky here in the first period. The clearing pass for Goulet. Cross ice. Paymont tries to get the stick on it, but he is stopped by Ludwig. Pierre Mondu back in the lineup. He has played the last 2 games right in front. And Alain Lemieux for Quebec. Clearing pass to Ashton, but it is too long as Rick Green goes back for it for the Canadiens. Ryan Walter off the boards for Naslund. He is covered by Kumpel. Aggressive player out of Lowell University. Rushmore. Here's Kumpel with the shot. Rushmore again covered there. We have 5 minutes and 20 seconds to go in period number 1 here in Quebec. Mario Marois. The back pass to Rushmore. He shoots it in, stop, and now McPhee comes back. McPhee, long shot. He scored from there earlier in the series, but stopped this time. Paymont. Headmans to Cote. This is Paymont racing along the boards. Double team there. The Canadiens have him well covered, and now we have a fight back the other way. From coast to coast in all 50 states, it's the Stanley Cup playoffs only on USA.
Michel Goulet, the big question mark for the Nordiques, and that talented left wing will be my guest. After that, a very special look at the referee in tonight's game, Andy Van Hellemond. We had a microphone on him a short while ago, and that should be an interesting look at what a referee goes through during a game. Andy Van Hellemond and Michel Goulet at the end of the first period.
Well, Al, here we have got a couple of more penalties being handed out. Paul Gillis for the Quebec Nordiques, number 23, gets 2 minutes for roughing. He's in the box, and Ryan Walter from the Canadiens, he also gets 2 minutes for roughing. There you will see exactly how it starts. I'm surprised they kind of get away with 2 minutes for roughing here because they threw a couple of good punches each and then went to the ice, but referee Andy Van Hellemond decides just to give the minors.
Well, the last time Montreal was here in Quebec in the playoffs, they won 1 game, and the game they lost, Quebec had to take them into overtime to do it. So Montreal has played very well here in Quebec, winning all 4 regular season games, and hoping that the magic holds true here tonight to send it to a 7th and final game in Montreal. Peter Stastny, 26 for Quebec, and the steal is made there by Carbonneau. Carbonneau racing in. Carbonneau shoots. There's the glove save by Gosselin as Carbonneau kicks the net off as he is hit from behind. But Gosselin comes up with his best save of the night.
Meanwhile, the Quebec Nordiques looking a little sloppy on their blue line. That was a perfect indication of what those nets, they can be frustrating at times, but watch the way that Carbonneau breaks in here. Now watch how he bumps into the post. I mean, he slides right in to the net, and if not for those magnetic posts, Guy Carbonneau may have been seriously injured. Watch the way number 21, Carbonneau, he just leans and protects the puck before he lets it go. Excellent maneuver by Carbonneau, leaning, protecting the puck. That enabled him to get his shot away.
And Gosselin makes the save. That one was headed right inside the post. Instead, it's Carbonneau who hits the post. A very valuable member of this Canadian team. Guy Carbonneau gets the assignment on the faceoff. 4.5 minutes to go in this first period. Montreal 2 and Quebec 1. Pat Price to Alain Lemieux. Lemieux tries the outside route, but he is bodied. And Montreal back the other way. Maxwell breaks it up. Price slides it in as Penny leaves it go for his defense. There is Curvers. He takes a bump from Ashton. Aslan plays it ahead, and Montreal comes out. The veteran Larry Robinson shoots it in. Deblois chases with Maxwell. Maxwell puts him in the boards, and Lemieux starts out. The older brother of Mario Lemieux of the Pittsburgh Penguins to Ashton. Ashton bodied and pushed to the ice by Ludwig. And the Canadiens storm back with Naslund, a man of many moves. Drops it back to Deblois. Here's Ludwig lining it up. He shoots, and it's off the stick of Gosselin. Comes up with another good save. Naslund. And Peter Stastny plays it back, and Rochefort brings it out. And it goes to Stastny. Goulet overskates. Here's Goulet in the slot, but he can't hold on. Quebec looking for the equalizer. Ludwig off the boards. Boisvert is pushed hard against the boards. And now Montreal comes back. Bobby Smith with Boisvert, who can move. It is Smith, though, in a crowd, and Quebec may have a break. Goulet along with Peter Stastny. Stastny skates in. Takes the long look. Cross ice. Bell plays it behind for Goulet. Leaves it for Marois. In front, Peter Stastny. Unable to get the shot off. So as he falls, he pokes it across, keeps it alive. Marois on the screen, and it ricochets wide. Boisvert, and he just floats it out to get the pressure off.
Tom Curvers, the defenseman for the Canadiens, an excellent coverage job on Peter Stastny. It may have saved a goal.
2 minutes, 34 seconds to go in the first period. Montreal 2, Quebec 1. We'll be back after these words. As the Nordiques and the Canadiens battle. Price from the point, and it's kicked out by Penny. Moving pretty well on that one. Moeller, the defenseman, just 21 years of age. Gillies with a bunk on Carbonneau, and here is Moeller in his third season with Quebec. Pat Price, the veteran. Kumpel knocked to the ice by Curvers. And it is Kumpel, who was the hero in game number 1 with an overtime goal in Montreal to set the pace to the Nordiques. And Quebec goes in offside with 1 minute 59 seconds left in this first period.
Well, just as that offside occurred, you can see number 23, Paul Gillis, get his stick up pretty high around Tom Curvers' neck. And that has been a big complaint by the players in this series. And of course, they're the ones that are doing it. But sticks have really been high, and dangerously high a lot of the times around the net. Or around the neck, I should say. Number 18, Tom Curvers, who has played very steadily on the blue line for the Montreal Canadiens. And boy, they really have been going pretty much with 4 defensemen.
Anton Stastny, wearing the shield in front of his face, suffered a fractured cheekbone in the first series against Buffalo. Maxwell, number 4, McPhee trying to beat him to the puck. Flackhart looking in front, goes back to the point. Rick Green, his shot, and it sails over the shoulder of Gosselin. Peter Stastny picks it up off the boards and then shoots it off a skate. Flackhart, and he is spun around to the ice. McPhee flying, and he flew past the puck. 1.5 minutes left in period 1. Montreal leading 2-1 over Quebec. Maxwell sailing in, shoots, kick save by Penny. He had to take that off the screen. A good save by Penny. Anton Stastny is smacked into the boards. And Rochefort back for Quebec. J.F. Sauvé winds and loses the puck to Deblois. Naslund right in front. Tremblay unable to get position with 1 minute to go in the first period of play. And it is shot in the Quebec zone. Deblois fans on the pass. Sauvé and Tremblay fight for it. Comes right in front, and it is cleared out to center ice. Curvers back for it for the Canadiens. 40 seconds to go in period number 1. And it's tipped in by Naslund. Pat Price Across to Paymont. Paymont has Alain Lemieux, but that's broken up by Curvers with 20 seconds left. And the Canadiens go in offside.
Mario Tremblay, number 14, the player for the Canadiens that was involved in that fight with Dale Hunter in game number 6. I should say game number 5 in Montreal. Got his stick up pretty high there along the blue line as well when he saw Michel Goulet coming at him. Goulet has seen lots of ice time in this first period of play, and he appears to be skating well out there. He has not really been tested in the corners as of yet with a good solid body check, and that may tell the tale.
Dale Hunter not dressed for Quebec. Chris Chelios not dressed for Montreal. So that's the trade-off. The offensive club Quebec losing an offensive weapon, and the defensive team Montreal losing one of their leaders, the defenseman Chelios. And there is the siren ending the first period of play, and the shots on goal for Quebec 9, for Montreal 8. As Steve Penny makes his way off the ice, the guest in between periods with Al Trautwig will be the Quebec Nordiques star left wing, Michel Goulet, and we'll find out even more about his injury. The score after 1 period of play, the Canadiens 2, the Nordiques 1. Will return with our first intermission right after these messages.
Massive intensity.
And there is a question if this game goes this series goes 7 games, a question that the Quebec Nordiques right now would rather not address, of whether Dale Hunter would be available for the 7th game Thursday night in Montreal. But they'll wait and hope that they don't have to answer that question. The shots on goal in that first period of play, the Nordiques had 9 and the Canadiens had 8. And we are underway. 2-1. Montreal leads Quebec. Paymont fakes the shot, and then he is checked by Curvers. The battle in the corner, and it's wound around to the near side. Ashton collides with Robinson, and Price unable to keep it in. At center ice, Gillis sends it in for Quebec. Here is Carbonneau with Flockhart. Carbonneau drops it to McPhee. McPhee looking in front, puts on the brakes. He's now bodied by Price. McPhee still scrapping for it. Carbonneau has Flockhart in front. He shoots, score! Well, in the first period, it took 45 seconds for Montreal to score. In the second period, it takes 36 seconds for Montreal to score.
Once again, nobody's worried about Guy Carbonneau tonight. He can put the puck in the net as well as doing lots of checking. But tonight, right there, you see Ron Flockhart. Flockhart just gets that puck, and boy, he releases it. Number 29, the man that was inserted into the lineup tonight to add some more offense, he's done exactly that. He let go with that shot, but where were the Quebec Nordiques responsible for covering that slot area out in front of Gosselin?
Ron Flockhart inserted in the lineup for the first time in the playoffs, and he has notched a goal, and now Montreal has taken a 3-1 lead. Will they reverse what happened in Montreal in Game 5 when Quebec went into the Forum and beat the Canadiens 5-1? Flockhart from Carbonneau and McPhee at 36 seconds of the second period, and the Canadiens now have a 2-goal lead. Alain Lemieux brings it in. Nice move to get in front, but it is Bobby Smith to take it away. Here's Boisvert with great speed. Pass goes on the near side to Rooney, and his shot whistles wide. Rick Green. And Marois sends it back the other way. Too many times in the playoffs here, Gary, we've seen teams get up now by 2 goals and then start to sit on it. A reminder, Chicago up by 4 and lost the lead and lost the game to Minnesota the other night. Here is Ludwig. He has some room. His shot on the screen. Kick save by Gosselin. And Quebec trying to muscle their way back. Bobby Smith rolls it into the corner. Pat Price for Quebec. Maxwell returns the pass to Price. And the crowd trying to encourage the Nordiques to get back in this one. Here is Price at the red line, and he slaps it in. Steve Penny, who's back, has to feel a little better around now as Maxwell plays it cross ice behind Cote, and a whistle against the Nordiques offside.
As you look at number 19 for the Quebec Nordiques, Alain Cote, you've got to wonder about the Nordiques right now in their own end zone. If I were the Canadiens, I would not be laying back defensively. I don't think they're going to. They're going to attack. They see a weakness right now with the Quebec Nordiques in the fact that they are not protecting Gosselin at all. You've seen a couple of goals tonight scored by the Montreal Canadiens in that front of the net position where they've been left all alone. When you see the Nordiques playing like that, the Canadiens will be smart to pick them apart.
Curvers. Robinson gets bumped, and clearing on the wing is Naslin. Deblois hitting Naslin, who can fly. Naslin to the trailer, Tremblay, and he is bumped by two of the Nordiques. Tremblay digging for it as Anton Stastny falls down on the puck and freezes it there.
Mario Tremblay, who got two of his teeth knocked out in game number 5, as well as a cut below his lip. He's back in the lineup tonight. He is a feisty performer. You're not going to keep him sitting down too long, that's for sure. He has got a hot temper, and we saw some of that hot temper. So did Dale Hunter in game number 5 in Montreal. Mario Tremblay, a very speedy winger out there for the Canadiens.
A fierce rivalry between these two Quebec teams, and the fans here at Le Colisée have not really been too happy about the series because they have seen only one Quebec win in 6 games meeting here at Le Colisée. Montreal taking all 4 in the regular season, and they have split 2 games in the playoff. The only Quebec win, Nordiques have forced to overtime in that one. The scrap is on. Moeller, number 21, knocks down McPhee. Crowd booing. They wanted a penalty on McPhee. McPhee wanted the penalty on Moeller. It is Ashton, number 9, crashing with Rick Green. Sauvé turns it back the other way, and Green intercepts him. We have played 3 minutes of the second period. Flockhart scoring at 36 seconds to give Montreal a 2-goal lead. Here is Price. Price takes the long shot, and Green gets the stick on that one and deflects it wide. Sauvé keeps it in, and now Quebec starting to buzz around in the Montreal zone. Green along the boards, waiting for him is McPhee. Green is there again with that big stick. Rochefort, the backhand on the screen, score!
Number 5, Rochefort with the backhand, but I believe that it went off of number 27, Will Paymont. Now let's take a look and see whether you can see Paymont coming in to the top of your screen, the top left. Now did Paymont touch that, or it went off of number 17, Craig Ludwig, I think, for the Canadiens. Paymont was coming in the vicinity of that puck, but he was actually a good yard away from it. It went off of number 17, the defenseman for the Canadiens, Craig Ludwig. So Rochefort will get credit for the goal, no doubt.
So Rochefort doing the smart thing, just putting the puck in front, and you could see Penny crouching down, searching for the puck all the way, and he never found it. So Quebec strikes, and they are back now to within 1 goal. 16 minutes and 12 seconds to go in this second period, and that has Quebec pumped up, and here they come again with Goulet chasing after the puck. Goulet centering it in front, and it is intercepted. At the point, it is Marois who keeps it in. Goulet lets it skip over his stick. Rochefort with the goal. Goulet and Sauvé on the assist at 3:28. Here's Bobby Smith bringing it across, circling with a man on his back. It is Robinson closing in, and he rifles that one high. A penalty coming up, to the Quebec Nordiques. So they get back to within 1, and now they will be down a man. The penalty coming up to Quebec after they have pulled to within 1 goal.
Holding, and let's watch at the top of your screen. You can see some holding going on, and that is being done by number 10, Jim Mann. 4:21 is the time, so this sets up the opportunity for the Montreal Canadiens on the power play.
So Andy Van Hellemond now with the helmet during periods with a fine feature. You kind of got a little bit of a glimpse of exactly what is happening down on the ice as the referee relates to the players, and Van Hellemond calls that penalty, and now Montreal has a power play for the first time tonight. Could not have come at a better time for Montreal. Their 2-goal lead is now down to 1, and it is cleared out. Peter Stastny, number 26, up for Quebec, but he now goes to the bench, being replaced by Brent Ashton, along with Paul Gillis up front. Naslin, number 26, along with Walter and Tremblay for Montreal. Here is Naslin keeping it alive in the zone. Brian Walter. Robinson comes in from the point to help out. Walder into the corner. As the Canadiens trapped up along the boards. Curvers poised and ready at the point. This is Naslund right in front. Tremblay and Walters can't get the stick on it. Here is Carvers. Carvers in the slot. And it is blocked by the defense. Pat Price with 2 Canadiens. And it is cleared out to Robinson. Puts it in front on the screen and a nice save by Gosselin. Walter rolls it into the slot and it is cleared by Ashton.
When the Canadiens were setting up in Quebec's end zone, you could see what they were trying to do. Once again, they were looking for that slot area that has been available to them tonight. They didn't quite get it, but they came very close.
37 seconds left in the power play as Gillis clears it all the way down. And now flying and taking it is Bobby Smith. Smith, the former #1 draft pick overall by the Minnesota North Stars. As DeBlois takes a seat on the ice. And it is rifled down. Just 10 seconds to go in the penalty. Canadiens start out. Here is DeBlois. He gets it this time. A nice move, but cannot get around Paymont. And a penalty is coming up. Another one against Quebec as Andy Van Hellemond comes Wilf Paymont. Steve Paymont going off for 2 minutes. With the score, the Montreal Canadiens 3 and the Quebec Nordiques 2. We'll be back to La Colisée after these words.
Crow Wing, Minnesota and Old Milwaukee both mean something great to these guys. Crow means northern pipe, big and mean. And Old Milwaukee means a great beer. Cold, crisp Old Milwaukee beer. And smooth, golden Old Milwaukee Light. It's a beauty.
And Old Milwaukee.
And Old Milwaukee Light.
Taste as great as their name.
You know, doesn't get any better than this.
You can see the penalty taking place right now. Paymont, number 27, gets the 2 minutes for slashing. That was right in the middle of your screen. And Rochefort was pretty hot going after Van Hellemond after he made that call. You're not going to change Van Hellemond's mind.
It's a one-man advantage. That other penalty is over. The punching check. And it is now Stastny coming out. 3-on-3. Peter Stastny flips it back to Price. Backhand in front. Penny stops it. As the net comes off, just as Peter Stastny was putting the puck in front. And now Andy Van Hellemond, along with Kevin Collins, discussing whether perhaps that was intentional or not.
I don't know, Al, about those nets. They have definitely added a great deal. Let's right now go to the Met Center in Minnesota, where Tony McKegney has put the Minnesota North Stars ahead by the score of 1-0. There you can see the rebound. Dino Ciccarelli took the shot. The rebound came out. Tony McKegney put it home. 1-0 for the North Stars. 1:30 into the first period. The North Stars are flying.
And Tony McKegney continues his magic. So here you see McKegney having a great series for Minnesota. And here in Quebec, Ashton and Maxwell, who have really helped the Nordiques. Ashton's the second leading goal scorer for the Nordiques behind Goulet in the playoffs. Naslund wraps it around the boards. Walter waiting for it on the near side. He is covered up by number 9, Ashton. 1:20 to go in the Montreal power play. They lead by the score of 3-2. Walter now spreads things out. Walter fakes the shot. Robinson, he puts it in front. Kick save by Gosselin. Rebound, score! The Canadiens on the power play. As Chris Nyland on his back, showing his strength.
I don't know how many more times tonight the Nordiques are going to have to be taught the lesson. You have to cover men in front of the net. Watch Chris Nyland, number 30 for the Canadiens. He is strong, but yet you have got to control that stick of his. Rochefort was desperately trying. Number 5, Rochefort, you see. Rochefort, number 5 for the Nordiques, desperately trying to get a piece of Chris Nyland's stick. He could not do it. Gosselin really went down way too early, Al. I don't know why, because He had no reason to. There was nobody on top of him. He could have stood up and made an easy save. Instead, Chris Nyland scores the goal.
He scores his second playoff goal. Nyland, who has blossomed into a 21-goal scorer this year. And it is now 4-2 in favor of Montreal. Robinson and Walter getting the assists. A power play goal coming at 7:11. And for our local systems, we pause now. It's the Stanley Cup playoffs live on USA.
If your old washer and dryer is putting you through the ringer, ring out the old and bring in a new Whirlpool appliance from Schultz Furniture. Right now, Schultz Furniture will gladly give you $150 in trade for any washer and dryer, whether it works or not, when you purchase a brand new Whirlpool. That's right, $150 trade-in value for that old washer and dryer on a new Whirlpool appliance from Schultz Furniture.
Schultz Furniture stands behind the great reputation.
Well, so far it is not Mario Gosselin's night. He has a 3.15 goal average, a sparkling average in the playoffs. We are not yet half through this game, and he has given up 4 goals. 4-2. Montreal leads it, fighting for survival, trying to send it back to the Forum for Game 7 on Thursday night.
We'll take a moment right now to remind you that this game is authorized under television rights granted by the National Hockey Leagues, intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the National Hockey League is strictly prohibited. Otherwise, Albert, you don't do it, because if they catch you, you're going to be in trouble.
All right, we'll keep that in mind.
I knew you would, Al.
Right now, Quebec seems to be in trouble. 12:23 left in the second period. The Nordiques with the opportunity to end it here from the point. The slap shot by Ludwig, but Quebec now finds themselves trailing by 2. No home ice advantage in this series. Brad Maxwell takes the long look. Gainey now proceeds on him as it's shot all the way down. Chasing is Ludwig along with Goulet. Canadiens playing their 3rd game in the playoffs without Chelios, looking for the 3rd straight win without their valuable defenseman. Figure that one out. Here is Gainey on the screen, rolls it in front, but it's blocked by Paymont. Gainey gets it again. It's as if this line has set up a wall at the blue line. Gainey, and he is poke-checked off the puck. This is Lemieux coming out for Quebec. And Bruce Bell. Bell, who missed several games early in the series because of a cut on his hand from a fight. Right in front, Carbonneau, kick save. Rebound, Boisvert, and he is toppled to the ice in front of the net. This defensive line continues to put on the offensive pressure. Curvers sends it in. Boisvert has room, kick save, and not a good one by Gosselin.
Good move by Maxwell, Al, just to throw it back to Gosselin. The way the defense and the forwards were playing out there have not been good for the Nordiques.
The place to stay for exclusive coverage of the Stanley Cup playoffs is only on USA Sports.
3 years ago, Lucite painted my house, part of a nationwide test. Lucite house and trim against 5 other leading brands. This brand is already cracking. This one's even worse. And here's Lucite. Still looks great.
Lucite's exclusive formula resists cracking and peeling much longer, so you don't need to paint as often.
Soon as this test is over with, I'm painting the whole place with Lucite.
Lucite. The paint that lasts and lasts.
We're going to take you back to the Met Center in Minnesota, where we're having some pitcher problems, but if you watch your screen closely, you will see that the Chicago Blackhawks have tied this game up again. Steve Larmer for the Blackhawks, 1-1 in Minnesota.
That's first period play with the North Stars trailing that series 3-2. The Stosny's bring it over. Anton looks in front for Cote, and now Montreal back the other way. Pierre Mondu. And Gosselin gets a sarcastic cheer from the home crowd. The rookie in nets most of the way for the Quebec Nordiques. He has played all but 1 game. Here's Cote right in front. Then it slides through and then hops over the glass and into the crowd.
Well, it's interesting in this series where each team has seemingly not been able to put 2 good games together. And I right now am emphasizing the fact that the Nordiques, who played a good solid game Saturday night in Montreal in game number 5, have got a chance to wrap things up tonight. But boy, defensively, they have been horrendous at times tonight, leaving the front of the net totally open. You saw the captain of the Quebec Nordiques, Mario Marois, and he is a key performer for this team, defensively speaking and leadership-wise. They have got to provide Goss with better coverage in front.
Quebec won the first game on the road. They have alternated victories since then. No team has won 2 in a row in this series. Sauvé is bumped in the boards by Walden. And it is Penny who keeps it behind that goal line. Cleared out, and here is McPhee with one man back. Marois, the long shot, and Marois gets the stick on that one, and that one flies high into the crowd.
Canadians desperately trying to get more shots on net. I think both of these teams tonight, as you heard Michel Goulet tell Al Troutwig, they want to get more shots on net. This man, number 35, Mike McPhee, he did exactly that, but he didn't have to really get a shot away in the very first couple of minutes of the hockey game. He just stood in front of the net, deflected the shot by Ron Flockhart, and put the Canadiens to a good start. Now the Canadiens have continued right on that route. Right now, 4-2, and the Nordiques really not showing a lot of offense, but we know they are extremely capable of it at any time.
Canadians have outshot Quebec 8-2 in the first 10 minutes of this second period. Goulet. The crowd wants a penalty. No go, says Andy Van Hellemond. Rochefort comes back for the Nordiques. Team with the captain, Marois. And that is Carbonneau sending the Nordiques deeper and deeper into the zone. The Nordiques down by 2. 9.5 minutes left in period number 2. Goulet plays it across. And Marois has to bring it back. Robinson shoots it ahead. Montreal with a 2-goal lead, content to keep that puck right there in the neutral zone. And the Nordiques in offside. For our local systems, we'll pause now. You're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs live only on USA.
Once again, Schultz Furniture brings the largest selection of lawn and patio furniture to the Valley. Schultz presents the latest designs and colors in outdoor furniture now at 20% off. Perfectly impressed for entertaining a group or just enjoying your own backyard. Spring into Schultz now for 20% off their large selection of summer furniture, where the great outdoors is inside the doors of Schultz Furniture.
Schultz Furniture stands behind the great reputation.
What do you think, Al? I don't think she's too pleased with the way that her Quebec Nordiques are playing in tonight's game. She almost looks a little bored. The Nordiques are so capable of playing a good skating, forechecking game. And out there right now, you would think that they had the 4-2 lead instead of the Canadiens.
The Nordiques with a chance to move into the conference finals against Philadelphia. They're 1 win away from that against a Montreal team during the regular season. Canadiens won the season series 6-1-1.
The little tiger behind the bench, Michel Bergeron, a little dejected right now, trying to get his team semi-motivated in the second period.
Maxwell chases it down with Mondeau. Mondeau with the eye injury at the end of the regular season has now played the last 3 games for Montreal, but sparingly. Here's Lemieux. Lemieux cuts in with Paymont. 2-on-0 in the crease with Penny, but they were just too close to him. Naslund looking to just seal it up, and now we have a whistle.
Good move by Naslund. He saw that they were under pressure. He was the man defensively doing the job. He just came back and pushed it ahead, got the whistle.
Well, we hope you're enjoying the Stanley Cup playoffs here on USA Sports, and we will be back in a moment.
When it comes to getting to the high ground, there's nothing like having a faithful companion. The new Toyota 4x4 SR5 Extra Cab, powering you to the top with a new electronically fuel-injected engine that supplies this truck with more horsepower than any other in its class. The new Toyota 4x4.
Now, this is a friend forever.
Right now, cash incentives to dealers can save you big money on a cargo van or truck.
Welcome back to the Colisée in Quebec City. 8.5 minutes to go in the second period of play. And the home team trailing the Montreal Canadiens 4-2. Curvers deep behind his goal. Sauvé on top of Curvers. Now Cote comes in along with Ryan Walder, and we'll have a face-off on the other side of Steve Penny.
J.F. Sauvé, number 15, the man that has seen a fair amount of ice time in this series. Bergeron likes him because of his abilities to play almost any place. He plays back in the point at times on the power play. He's utilized him up front. He is not very big, as you can tell, but he's a speedy winger that has got an excellent shot and is a pretty good playmaker out there.
Sauvé this year scoring 13 goals during the regular season, 7 of those on the power play. Now if Quebec can only get a power play. Deblois clears it high in the air, stays with it, and there is Boisvert winding it around. Bruce Bell keeps it in the corner. Stastny leaves it alone for Goulet. And Penny stops it for Robinson. Rounds the net with Peter Stastny on top of him, and Robinson gets away, now picking up speed. It is Bobby Smith going in, cutting around the corner. Smith staying with it, right in front, where Montreal has had success. Boisvert, and he's stopped by Gosselin.
Well, I don't know whether you people at home are getting tired of hearing me say it or not. I'm almost getting tired of saying it. The Quebec Nordiques continue to leave that front of the net open. Now, Boisvert, number 12 for the Canadiens, he's able to walk right in front of Gosselin. Now, Gosselin comes up with a stick save, actually. He pokes that stick out, and that prohibited Boisvert from being able to pull the puck into the middle and then go for the open net. So good move by Gosselin, but where are the Nordiques defense? You'll see it from the high angle camera, and you can see that move by Gosselin, by sticking that stick out that far, prohibited Boisvert from being able to come right around and tuck it around behind Gosselin. Good move.
Mario Gosselin joined Quebec late last season off the Canadian Olympic team. His first start, he shut out St. Louis. Green. And Quebec now takes it behind the net. Marois. The lead pass. And Kumpel goes in. From the point, Gillis coming in. And Penny gets the toe on that one. Now a break for Montreal with Gainey leading it out. Gainey crisscrosses with Nyland. Gainey, side of the net. And now it is Kumpel trying to run it down. 7 minutes, 5 seconds left in the second period of play. It is Kumpel again. And the shot deflected off the stick of Green and into the crowd.
Al, you know, I've really been putting a lot of heat on the defense for the Quebec Nordiques, but in all fairness, too, their forwards have really been caught up and have not been coming back and helping out the defense, and as a result, the Canadiens have been able to outnumber the Nordiques 3-2, a fair amount of time in front of Gosselin. So not always the problems of the defense. You've got to have at least one of those forwards back in helping out.
Gosselin getting the nod in the playoffs over Dan Bouchard and Richard Sevigny. Michel Bergeron going with the rookie. Right in front, and it is cleared by Montreal. Deblois bringing it out. As the two players in race, not characteristic of this series, Mondu backhands and scores! Again, a Canadian walks right in front. 5-2 Montreal.
That's going to make Pierre Mondu pretty happy because he has had trouble getting his timing back and getting into this series. He doesn't have much problem here. He just walks in, makes a shifty little move, turns to his backhand and up and over Gosselin. Once again, you've got to take the body. You can't be playing the puck. You saw number 4, Brad Maxwell. He went for Mondu, but Mondu put a nice pivot on him. But even still, Maxwell should have taken Mondu out of the play.
6.5 minutes to go in the second period, and the Canadiens have now taken a 3-goal lead. Deblois and Boisvert getting the assists at 13:21 of this second period, as the Canadiens jumping on top of the Nordiques. Reunited out on the ice now for Quebec, the three Stastny brothers, as Marion dressed tonight for only his second playoff game. Mondeau again, give and go, right in front to Tremblay. And speaking of lines reunited, Mondeau now in the middle of Naslund and Tremblay. The high-scoring line for the Canadiens during the regular season. Here's Marion Stastny, who has been a canceled check for most of the season. And Naslund shoots it down. 5 minutes, 45 seconds to go. In this second period, it has been all Montreal. Marois drops the pass, rolls it in front, and Green sticks it aside. Ryan Walter plays it out. Here's McPhee, a possible 2-on-1. He has Flackhart. McPhee shoots, and it goes wide. Goulet can't get it out. Flackhart, and it deflects wide of the net. Rochefort winds it around. And Marois. The Quebec Nordiques showing very little spark. Having the great opportunity here on their home ice to wrap it up. But Montreal has jumped out to a 5-2 lead here in the second period. Bruce Bell off the boards, and waiting at the Montreal line was Paymont, and he floats it in. Boisvert, who can fly, drops it off for Smith. Smith circling, waiting for Boisvert to move in front. The shot from the point hits the post. Rebound Boisvert, and does it go in or not? Andy Van Hellemond inspecting.
That's another one of those Van Hellemond decisions that we're going to have to await.
The goal light never went on.
No, it didn't.
And we will find out. They say no goal. And we'll be right back.
If anyone can tell you how many cities United flies to, I can. 159. Because every morning, flight after flight lifts off with a load of my sweet rolls. 747s, 767s, DC-10, New York to LA, Miami to Seattle. So many flights to so many cities with so many of my sweet rolls. So next time you're in the friendly skies and someone says,
"My compliments to the sweet roll man,"
you'll know who they're talking about.
You're not just flying, you fly in the friendly skies.
Well, the face-off is in the Quebec zone. That puck did not go in. You could see it hit the post. Now, this is where there was some question. You could see the question was whether or not that puck went over the goal line, only because Gosselin had backed in so far in behind the goal line, you could not tell from our angle as to where that puck was. Andy Van Hellemond obviously has signaled no goal.
Right from the face-off, the Canadiens putting the pressure on. The puck is loose, but Van Hellemond losing sight of it, and it is whistled down. Let's go downstairs now to Al Trautwig.
Al, one interested party who's scouting this game is the general manager of the Philadelphia Flyers, Bob Clark. He'll be my guest at the end of the second period, and then we'll take another edition of Dan Kelly Remembers into your living room. Dan will take us back to a fabulous performance in the early 60s by Roger Crozier for the Detroit Red Wings. By the way, while the Canadiens were warming up today, I noticed they were shooting high in practice an inordinate amount of time, and maybe that's their strategy in beating Mario Gosselin. Back to you, Al.
Well, they have beaten them 5 times. And one of the reasons, too, is where they've been shooting the puck from. Right in the slot area in front. 5-2, the Canadiens lead. Perhaps they are setting up another miracle finish right here in USA. Last time we were on, a team was down by 4 goals and came back. Canadiens now only a 3-goal lead.
One thing for certain in playoff hockey, the way things have gone, you cannot count on who is going to win a game just because they have a 3 or 4 goal lead. You look at number 9, Brent Ashton. Ashton has been probably the surprise performer for the Quebec Nordiques this season when he came across from the Minnesota North Stars. Michel Bergeron, his coach, took lots of confidence in Ashton, and Ashton responded. He played not only well in his checking game, but he scored a lot of key goals for the Nordiques this season.
Bergeron actually said that Brad Maxwell, the defenseman, was the key guy in that deal, that he didn't know how good Ashton was. Petty comes out and sweeps it into the corner. Flackhart sends it the other way, chases after it, then lets his defenseman take it. McPhee can't get it out. Jimmy Mann then loses. Here's a break for Flackhart. He could fly. Flackhart puts on the brakes, and then it's kicked away by Pat Price. So Farquhar trying to get going and never did. 3 minutes and 38 seconds left in the second period. 5 for Montreal, 2 for Quebec. Quebec leading the series 3-2. Mann plays it off the boards for Gillis with Cote. And the pass is too long. And now Montreal at center ice. It is McPhee. In front, Carbonneau. Gosselin playing with the puck, trying to get down as quickly as possible. We have 3 minutes and 10 seconds left in the second period. Curvers for Montreal. Montreal, an excellent defensive team, 4th best in goals against in the league, and now they have a 3-goal lead to work with. Gosselin stops it for his defenseman. Rushford behind the goal. Again, the 3 Stastny brothers on the ice. This is Marion. Puts on the brakes. Bergeron looking to find solutions, so he reunites the Stastnys. Carbonneau. The move against Rushford. And Marois back the other way. Peter, lead pass too long for Anton. And Ludwig for the Canadiens beats everybody back for it and touches it, and will come all the way back into the Quebec end.
Now, when you look at this second period of play, the Nordiques have been frustrated with their offense, but yet, because they have been down, they have been trying to keep 3 forwards way too high. Well, we are looking right now at pictures at Minnesota, and Minnesota has just scored, and that puts them ahead 2-1. McKegney has once again scored. That is McKegney's 2nd goal of the game. The North Stars ahead 2-1.
So the North Stars trying to send it back to Chicago for Game 7 on Thursday night. The winner of that series will play Edmonton in the conference finals. The winner of this series will go on to play Philadelphia. We have 2 minutes and 12 seconds left in the second period. Here's Lemieux heading in. Shot. Kick save by Penny. Goulet behind the net to Lemieux, who's been one of the more effective players on the ice for the Nordiques. Lemieux can't hold on to the puck. And Larry Robinson for the Canadiens. Checked by Lemieux. Lemieux and Mondeau. And Curvers puts it right in front of his net. Paymont keeps it in. He had a man right in front. Goulet was waiting for the puck and never came his way. Tremblay to center ice, just slowly brings it into the zone and wraps it in as the Canadiens make a line change with 1.5 minutes to go in the second period. As Bell winds it out for Quebec. The blind pass in front, and Penny just freezes it right there.
That is only the 14th time in 2 periods that Steve Penny has had to stop that puck. Penny has not had much work tonight, and that's surprising. You heard Michel Goulet tell Al Krutwig in between periods that the Nordiques wanted to shoot a great deal on Penny tonight, and obviously to see whether or not Penny was ready to play. They have failed to do so.
The face-off now to the left of Penny, who after the game the other night went to the hospital under observation for the back spasms, out of a hospital bed to play in this one tonight. As Bobby Smith shoots it ahead, and now chasing for it, Deblois for the Canadiens, Maxwell for the Nordiques. Pat Price with Poivert right on top of him. The Canadiens trying to smother the Nordiques in their zone. 1 minute to go in the second period. 5-2, Montreal leading it.
That's really key right now for the Canadiens to make sure defensively they don't want to give the Nordiques any momentum in this last minute.
Well, whistle had blown as the Canadian is down in the corner. Steve Penny, the goaltender, coming out to try to help his fallen comrade, or at least see how he is doing. At this vantage point, we cannot tell exactly who that is for Montreal.
Is it possibly Rick Green? It is a defenseman, I believe. We will see exactly how that happened. You could see that Rick Green, it was in fact, got knocked over, and when he went back, he may have just crashed into the boards, but he is getting up rather slowly. The Canadiens can ill afford to be without this big defensive defenseman for them. And Mark Kumpel was the man that laid out that body check on Rick Green.
Kumpel eliminating the Canadiens one by one. He was the one who hit Peter Svoboda in the second game. Svoboda suffering torn ligaments in the ankle, and he is out for the season. Michel Michel Bergeron, the coach of the Quebec Nordiques. He has inserted Jimmy Mann in the lineup the last few games with the rough stuff starting. He says if the Canadiens are going after Peter Stastny or Michel Goulet, they're going to have to get by Jimmy Mann first.
Mann really hasn't had to do too much as far as that aggressive role goes.
So the faceoff will be at center ice. 50 seconds left in the second period. The Canadiens can ill afford to lose Rick Green. Already they have Svoboda out. Chris Chelios is not playing tonight. Rick Natras is dressed, but he has not seen any action yet. So the defensive core, the foundation, along with Steve Penny of this Montreal team, being eliminated one by one. Here's Robinson across to Ludwig. Ludwig carries to the red line. And Randy Moeller plays it off the boards, and it deflects into the crowd. We have just 39 seconds to go in this second period of play. Montreal 5 and Quebec 2.
Now, what I had started to say before Rick Green received that injury was the fact that the Canadiens in this last minute of play for certain don't want to give the Nordiques any momentum going into that dressing room. Nothing for them to rah-rah about. Let them go in with their heads hanging.
And I'm sure Michel Bergeron will have a few choice words for his team.
Interesting when you talk about Bergeron, and of course Lemaire is part of this as well. They have been very hushed-mouthed in the last few games especially. Nobody is to say anything. They don't give any information out, and of course their practices even yesterday were closed to the public and to the media as well, so very difficult.
Gillis the shot with 20 seconds left in the second period. The Canadiens have outscored Quebec 3-1 in this second. Mann leaves it for Rushmore. He goes in, and it's smothered by the defense. 10 seconds to go. Gillis to Cote. Backhand right in front. And the shot by Moeller goes wide. 2 seconds to go. And that is the end of the second period as the Quebec Nordiques end it in a rush. The shots on goal in that second period for Quebec 6, for Montreal 14. So the shots on goal through 2 periods of play, the Canadiens with 22 and the Nordiques with 15. Coming up in between periods, a special guest tonight, Flyer General Manager Bob Clark will discuss things with Al Trautwig. Clark doing some scouting. The Flyers waiting in the wings for either the Canadiens or the Nordiques. After 2 periods of play, it is Montreal 5, Quebec 2. We'll be back with our center intermission right after these words.
Send the art to Boston, get the part to Corning. Working through the night so you have it by morning. Call Emery, and it's as good as there. Emery's everywhere, from Paris, France to Pasadena. Emery gets it there. From New York to Argentina, from the biggest to the smallest, it's as good as there. Just call us.
Thank you for calling Emery.
It's as good as there.
Will Dolly's 26-minute sun deck. Edith Cosett's 5-minute porch swing. Terry McFadden's 4.5-hour cottage. Gene Townsend's 17-minute rowboat. It's times like these that'll make you glad you've got a Wagner Power Painter. The quick, easy way to paint just about anything.
We make excitement. Showtime excitement.
Showtime makes excitement with blockbuster movies all month long. Kevin Bacon dances his way into your heart in the national pay cable exclusive Footloose. You'll feel safe and secure with America's finest on the case in Police Academy. And it's an all-star cast and Stephen King's chilling Firestarter. Exclusive movies, lots of movies, and much more in May on Showtime.
I took one look at her rich, dark, natural tan, and I was transported. Oh, the warm summer sun, the soft sand, sunlight sparkling and dancing on the waves. But when I found out that tan was from AA Hair Company and Tannery, I about dropped my snow cone. It's a real tan, a natural tan, because it's nature's own tanning process. And when I found out it was 13 visits for only $35, I got into it too. And now I've got a year-round tan from AA Hair Company and Tannery. You can get one too. Call AA 453-5589.
Thursday night, if necessary, there will be a Game 7 either in this series or the Chicago-Minnesota series. We will have one of those games for you. My feeling is it must start at about 7:30 Eastern Time. If not, we'll begin our conference championship coverage on Saturday night. Check listings for the game and start time of that one on USA as we continue our coverage of the Stanley Cup playoffs. After 2 periods of play, the Montreal Canadiens roaring in front of the Quebec Nordiques, now leading by a score of 5-2. One of the interested men watching tonight has his team resting for the week. It is Bob Clark, the general manager of the Philadelphia Flyers. His coaching staff and Bob flew up today to watch this game, and I'm wondering, Bob, what you've noticed about the first 2 periods of play.
Well, Montreal has obviously shut Quebec down real good. I don't think Quebec's had 3 good scoring chances tonight. I think it's been total Montreal.
If you were behind the bench, or if you had some say-so, what could you possibly do to get Quebec into a checking frame of mind in front of their goal crease? I mean, they've been absent.
Well, I think it's probably the way Montreal's playing more so than what Quebec's not doing. I think Montreal's all over them. Montreal's creating those scoring chances. I don't think it's Quebec's lack of effort.
Now, Bob, you're resting for a few days. Your team is resting for a few days as a result of that convincing victory you had over the Islanders. I'm wondering now, as you take a very young team, the youngest in the NHL, to the next step, to the conference championship, and maybe beyond, what your feelings are about having those real young players, Tocchet and Zezel and so forth, playing in the bigger games. Why won't they fold?
Well, they've played all year in every type of situation that's risen. They've played for us all year, and they haven't even shown any signs of a struggle or a folding on them. I just think they're great young hockey players. It's a great young hockey team, and I don't see any reason why they can't go all the way.
If you could step outside the situation for a moment, aren't you surprised, though, that players that young have come together so quickly and have gotten such great results?
Well, they've put the effort out, and I think the coaching staff has done a real good job. They've got great goaltending. They got a veteran defense that's playing absolutely outstanding, and everybody's contributing. I think that the whole hockey team has really, really played well, the last 2 months particularly.
You must be very proud of the decision to pick Mike Keenan as your coach. I mean, Mike has really turned out to be a real find.
It was an organization decision. We did a lot of homework on Mike, and I think when you pick a guy, you're naturally he's the guy you want, and then you hope, and it's really turned out good for us.
Back to this series for a moment. It's pretty strange that in Montreal has a bad game and Quebec wins, and the trend right now in this game is for Quebec to have a bad game and for Montreal to win, although it's far from over. How do you figure that happens in a series this tight on the other team's home ice?
I don't know. I wouldn't think with 2 veteran hockey clubs like this that they would be uptight on their own ice surface. I really have no way of knowing what's going on.
One more question about Pelle Lindbergh. What has really happened in Pelle's mind? He's got so much confidence. He's making, I mean, more big saves than a playoff goaltender I can remember, except maybe Billy Smith 2 years ago.
I think it's just confidence. He's been our... Bobby Froese got hurt early in this season, and Pelle's been our #1 goalie right from the start, and he's played more games than anybody in the league and played better than anybody in the league. I think it's just confidence.
So now what will Mike Keenan, Ted Sater, and yourself take home from Quebec City tonight? Notes, films, anything?
Oh, we got all kinds of films. Every team in the league does now. I think they'll just get line combinations, who's killing penalties, how they're killing penalties, who's playing power plays, and how they're trying to move the puck out of their own end and stuff like that.
All right, thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Al.
Bob Clark, the general manager of the Philadelphia Flyers, the Patrick Division champions for 1985. His team getting ready and will be well rested when the conference championship begins. And for being with us, Bob will receive a beautiful Kodak disc camera. Just pull it out of your pocket and it's ready. Aim, shoot, and smile, because you're going to get it with the Kodak disc. When we return on USA, we'll bring you the Wall Street Journal late news. We'll update you on what's happening at the Met Center in Bloomington in that game with the Blackhawks and the North Stars. And then a Dan Kelly Remembers special look at Roger Crozier in the 1966 Stanley Cup Finals. In the meantime, we take you back to this date in Stanley Cup history. April 30th, 1972. The most shorthanded goals in one period by one team, the Boston Bruins, in that final versus the New York Rangers. We'll be back on USA in a moment. Montreal with the 3-goal lead. The ends are doing to the Quebec City fans what the Quebec City team did to the Montreal fans the other night. We're going to step away now for the Wall Street Journal late news.
Signs of a slowdown. That story and more next.
The Wall Street Journal Late News with William Bruce, brought to you by Toyota's exciting cars and trucks for 1985. Toyota invites you to see them at your local dealer.
Good evening, everyone. The economic signs are flashing slowdown. The index of leading indicators fell in March, while factory orders declined for the 8th time in the past 12 months. The strong dollar, which rose again today, gets much of the blame as Americans continue to buy less expensive foreign-made goods. And the U.S. trade deficit last month was again immense. U.S. Steel, suffering from foreign competition, says quarterly earnings plunged. And on Wall Street, stock and TWA took off today on rumors investor Carl Icahn is a heavy buyer.
There's a new game in town. It's called Putting the Fun Back into Driving. Introducing the Toyota MR2 sports car, a mid-engine 16-valve fuel-injected playmate designed for the kind of performance that says, look out, here I come. But you'll drive it just for the fun of it. The Toyota MR2. It's the best game in town. The fun is back.
Insurance companies are getting tough with doctors. Agents are going undercover, posing as patients to try and catch doctors suspected of performing unnecessary treatments. The push comes because in the non-competitive healthcare market, insurers feel it's more important than ever to keep costs down. Coca-Cola made big news when it said it's changing its formula, but few people seem to care. Of course, some diehard Coke fans are hoarding, and one says, if the new Coke tastes like Pepsi, I'm going to switch to root beer. I'm William Bruce. More news later from the Wall Street Journal on USA.
Back in October, there were 21 teams who had dreams of capturing the Stanley Cup. By today, or at the latest Thursday, we will have only 4 teams left. But the 2 teams who may be eliminated are really scratching and clawing. Right now, in the second period at the Met Center in Bloomington, the Minnesota North Stars, as a result of 2 Tony McKegney goals, lead the Chicago Blackhawks 2-1. And remember, in that series, the Blackhawks hold the 3-2 advantage, but the Minnesota North Stars felt throughout that they should have won games 3 and 4, so they're looking for some retribution. Once again, another look at Dan Kelly's brain, his memory to be more specific. We take you back to 1966. Roger Crozier in goal for the Detroit Red Wings.
Rebound cleared. 10 more. Oh, a shot. He scored! Into Anderson. Cutting right in. He shoots. He scores! Lumley shoots it down the ice at the empty net. He scores! Dave Lumley throws it up for it.
Well, the first Stanley Cup final I ever did was the 1965-66 Montreal Canadiens Detroit series. At that time, I was part of Hockey Night in Canada, but doing the Stanley Cup final for CBC Radio on network radio across Canada. The series is very memorable because the Detroit Red Wings walked into the Montreal Forum, won the first 2 games of the series, and games 3 and 4 were in Detroit. Well, things looked very gloomy indeed for the Montreal Canadiens. And Roger Crozier was outstanding in goal. The series shifted to Detroit. And to make a long story short, the Canadiens won the next 4 games. But I can remember game 3 like it was yesterday, and Beliveau and Gilles Tremblay being thwarted one time after another by Crozier. And it looked as though Montreal would not just win a game, but whether they'd ever score on Crozier. That's how outstanding he was. Well, they did win game 3. They did win game 4. Crozier got hurt. Hank Basson had to come in and play part of the 4th game, I think it was, and all of game 5, and then Crozier came back for game 6. So with game 6 in the old Olympia in Detroit, I happened, because all the television crews had the regular broadcast locations at the old Olympia, I was broadcasting from the organ loft, which was away towards one end of the rink. And the game went into sudden death overtime. And wouldn't you know it, at the far end of the rink is where the winning goal is scored. And it was scored by Henri Richard, sliding along the ice, actually may have put the puck in with his arm or his hand, and I'm at the other end of the rink. And I can remember saying, Richard scored, but I didn't really know how he scored. I just saw the red light come on. And Crozier came out to argue that he had knocked it in with his arm or his hand. And anyway, the goal was allowed, and Montreal won the Stanley Cup. Crozier, by the way, in that series was so outstanding he was named as the Conn Smythe Trophy winner, despite the fact he was on the losing team and his team lost 4 games to 2.
Roger Crozier, the hot goalie of '66. In 1985, the hot goalies seemed to be Grand Fuhrer of Edmonton and Pelly Lindbergh of the Philadelphia Flyers. The last report out of the Montreal locker room is that Rick Green will return for the 3rd period in spite of that injured shoulder. We'll be back in a moment on USA.
I got me a hard-to-please woman, so I got me some 501 blues. You know what I mean? Got me a hard-to-please woman, so I got me some Levi's 501 blues. You know they're so much more than just button-fly jeans. They shrink to fit me so personally, and now my hard-to-please woman's having a hard time pleasing me. Well, she used to make me holler. You know she used to make me scream. That's right. Now all I gotta do is walk in wearing my Levi's 501 jeans. And then my woman says, baby, have mercy on me in your butterfly shrink to fit 501 jeans. Yeah, my hard-to-please woman's having a hard time pleasing me. Thanks to my Levi's 501 jeans.
This week on Commander USA's Groovy Movies, colossal combustible cockroaches converge on California. Bradford Airmen bugged, then more money.
I was looking for a new car and found out Ford outsells everyone in the Northwest. I also found out it's easy to drive away this new Escort, the best-selling car in the world. Or for just a little more, I could step up to this roomy front-wheel drive Tempo. And it was just another easy step all the way up to this classy Thunderbird. No wonder they're #1. Well, I made my choice, but now you have to take the first step and hurry to your Northwest Ford dealer during the Step Up to Ford sale.
Time, 36 seconds in the 2nd period, made it 3-1. Rochefort came back for Quebec, then Nyland and Mondu scoring for Montreal to give them the 5-2 lead. But the goal, when they look back at this one, they may say may have broken it for Montreal 36 seconds into the 2nd period.
No question, Al. That was the key goal as far as the Montreal Canadiens have got to be concerned, because when you score that early in a hockey game and really catch the Nordiques floundering defensively, then you're going to be off to a good start. There you could see it, right out from the slot. Carbonneau feeding the pass out to Ron Flockhart, number 29. He just put it home. Good shot right past Gosselin.
Well, Moses parted the Red Sea. Montreal is part of the slot area in front of Gosselin.
Well, I'll tell you, it has been a very difficult 2nd period for the Quebec Nordiques. Now they're getting started again.
And Quebec trying to put the pressure on. The penalty is coming up on Montreal, and a good way to start for the Nordiques. The Canadiens had scored in the opening minute in both periods of play. And now Quebec down by 3 goals, and this is the way to start on the power play. The Quebec Nordiques lead in the series, 3 games to 2. Montreal with a 3-goal lead to try to stay alive here in Game 6 and force to a 7th game.
Just as it was a good way for the Canadiens to get started out in the 2nd period with Flockhart starting, this is not a good way for the Canadiens to start out in this 3rd. Tom Curvers, number 18 for the Canadiens, getting a penalty at the 19-second mark in this 3rd period of play.
Peter Stastny, 26, hooking to try to get it back on Carbonneau. It's Carbonneau and Gainey up front for Montreal. Curvers goes off at 19 seconds for the trip. Peter Stastny, 26, receives the pass. Plays it ahead to Wilf Paymont, who loses the puck. Brent Ashton is the other winger on this line. That may give Montreal the advantage, the way Carbonneau and Gainey have been playing. Marois starts it ahead to Sauvé. Off a screen of Ashton, he goes behind. He is wrapped up there by Robinson. It is not cleared out. Marois slaps it. Save made by Purdy as Robinson can't get it out again. Paymont plays it behind. Ashton, almost imperative for the Nordiques to score on this power play. Marois being rushed. Sauvé. And as Paymont back to Sauvé. He shoots as Ashton tried to tip from in front of the net. The long reach by Robinson, and he sails it out. Montreal may be in severe trouble defensively Rick Green bruised his shoulder at the end of the second period, but now Green is making an appearance on the ice. The Canadiens could have been down to 4 defensemen, including Rick Nantris. Here is Bruce Bell coming in. Bell rolls it behind. A weird bounce comes in front to Goulet, but Green covers him up. Green also playing one of his better games in this series. 28 seconds left on the power play for the Nordiques.
Well, you brought up a good point. The Canadiens could not afford to have Rick Green injured in this game. Now let's go to Minnesota, where once again we'll see some goals being scored. You see the Daryl Sutter goal by Chicago. This ties it up 2-2. Daryl Sutter scoring for Chicago. And we've got a tie hockey game at the Met Center in Minnesota.
Sutter again scoring late in the period as he did the other night. So it is all tied up in Minnesota between the North Stars and Chicago. Sauve sizing up the situation. Spins away from Green. Now Green completely covers him up. Goulet scrapping for the puck. Green holding Goulet with one hand. The puck is now poked loose by Carbonneau. Maxwell at the point with just 6 seconds to go in the power play. Sauve right in front. It's blocked by Green. Sauve battling forward, and the penalty is over as Curvers is back on the ice. Maxwell making a free shot on goal, but never gets it there. And Green slides it ahead to Carbonneau. One pass to Curvers, breaking in. Curvers shoots, saved by Gosselin as Peter Stastny comes back to interfere with Curvers. Here's a break for Anton Stastny. He goes in. Penny got a piece of it, and there goes the net. So breakaways at each end of the ice. Coast-to-coast coverage of the Stanley Cup playoffs only on USA Sports.
There's a new game in town. It's called Putting the Fun Back into Driving. Introducing the Toyota MR2 sports car, a mid-engine 16-valve fuel-injected Playmate designed for the kind of performance that says, look out, here I come. But you'll drive it just for the fun of it. The Toyota MR2. It's the best game in town. The fun is back.
Anton Stastny, number 20, going and sitting on the bench right now. A little bit frustrated after he missed his beautiful breakaway opportunity. Stastny, he was looking to go low on the glove side, and you could see that Steve Penny just stood his ground, played the angle, and just made a little kick save with that left pad.
Quebec, notorious offensive team. Gary, they have no other choice. They have to open it up now.
No question. Now they're down 5-2, and they realize they're faced up against the Montreal Canadiens squad that were well known through the course of the year for their fine defensive play. You look at the bench right now for the Nordiques, you realize that they are prepared to gamble because they can put the puck away offensively. They've got men that can score goals and score them easily, so they're by no means out of this yet, but they've got to get it going soon.
And here comes Montreal, just talking about Quebec opening up. Poivert unable to get the stick on the puck. Poivert again flying, wearing number 12, reminiscent of Yvan Cournoyer, the way he moves out of that zone. Here is Cote on the screen, and it is wide. Gillis takes a bump there from Robinson. Cote falls down. Kumpel is there. Kumpel has been their designated hitter for Quebec. Cote 19 along the boards. Price pokes it into the corner. Gillis waiting for it there. He is covered up by Robinson. Dug out by Cote. Bobby Smith on top of him. So the Canadiens looking to smother the Nordiques in their zone. And Smith settles for the ice. Goes all the way down, and the Canadiens with a 3-goal lead just taking a little of the heat off with 4 minutes gone by in the third period. It's the place to stay for live Stanley Cup coverage, USA Sports.
Sounds like there's a bear in the beer.
What are we going to do?
I'll be right back.
Where's he going?
He's going to get that beer from that bear.
That's not just a bear. That's a grizzly.
Yeah, but that's not just a beer. That's fire-brewed Strohs. I thought we had 3 cases.
Well, had to make a deal. Stroh's and Stroh Light, fire brewed for smoother taste.
The big crowd here at the Colisée, which has been big and quiet for most of this night. Their home team with a chance to go into the conference finals, losing by 3 goals on their home ice to the rival Montreal Canadiens. Flackhart, the long shot, and Marois got a good piece of that one. And there is Marois in front of his goal. But there are 3 Canadians waiting back. Canadians will give Quebec very little room. McPhee, he plays it high off the glass. McPhee started it all for Montreal, scoring just 45 seconds into the game. The long pass trying to send Ashton in. And Penny comes back and plays it off the boards for Flackhart.
You can see that the Nordiques are trying to get a man open and long. They're going almost for that long bomb, Al, because they know how tight Montreal will play them in between the 2 blue lines.
Well, they have to do it and click on it 3 times to tie this game up. Naslund being chased back by Stastny. And it is Mondu for the Canadiens, who has a goal here tonight. This could be the break, but offside was Peter Stastny. Jimmy Mann playing with that puck outside the blue line, just a split second too long. And Stastny could not hold back, started cutting it.
Rick Natras, number 3 for the Canadiens. He's starting to get some ice time now, as the Canadian defense are no doubt tiring. They only started with 5 tonight. Rick Green getting hurt in the second period. He is on the bench, however, and has seen some spot duty in this 3rd period, but they really have to go with Rick Natras more in this 3rd period.
Chris Chelios out with the knee injury. Montreal, though, 2-0 without Chelios in the playoffs. Certainly not a reflection on Chelios by any means. They also without Peter Svoboda, who was injured in the 2nd game, and he's out for the season. Torn ligaments in the ankle. We have 14.5 minutes to go in this 3rd period of play. Maxwell back for it for the Nordiques. Anton Stastny plays it ahead to Peter. Peter trying to wind it up. Peter looking in front. Drops it for Maxwell on the angle. It still sits there, and now the Canadiens on the attack. Here is Deblois, or rather Nyland, cutting in, and his shot, a soft one. He fans on it, and Gosselin just steers it into the corner. Peter Stastny back again. Drops for Anton. Everybody overskates. Maxwell, the bullet shot, and it goes wide. Peter Stastny behind the net to Anton, looking for the stuff. Anton stays with it. At the point, he has Bell. Bell, quick shot, knocked down in front by Ludwig, and he clears to center ice. 13 minutes and 39 seconds left in this 3rd period of play. Robinson bats it out, but it comes back in again, and an offside called against the Quebec Nordiques. For our local systems, we'll pause now. You're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs only on USA.
This summer, you can have more fun than ever in a Sea Eagle, the best inflatable boat in the world now at Carrots. You can rent a Sea Eagle for a day or a weekend. Put it in your trunk, and you and your friends will start a weekend of fishing, camping, river running, or exploring for just $25 in a Sea Eagle inflatable boat from Carrots. This summer, try rafting before buying your Sea Eagle. Rent a Sea Eagle today at Carrots, Yakima's River Floating Headquarters. Carrots, 1107 Fruitvale Boulevard.
Well, the crowd encouraging the Nordiques, but 6.5 minutes now have gone by in this 3rd period, and the Nordiques have not moved closer to Montreal. 5-2, the Canadiens lead in a wacky series. No such thing as home ice advantage in this one. 2 teams coming from Montreal, where the Nordiques embarrassed the Canadiens 5-1. And now the Canadiens turning the table here in game number 6 in Quebec City. Moeller shoots it in. Ashton racing for it with Natras, number 3 for Montreal. Only his 2nd appearance on the ice. And it is Bell. Ashton can't hold on, and Montreal with possession again. Curvers plays it ahead. Kumpel turns, and he puts it into the Montreal zone. Steve Penny, the back, seemingly not bothering him here tonight. Giving up a goal in each of the periods. Here's Smith, takes it in, being watched by Bell. Smith, Curvers, And the save by Gosselin. Kumpel starts out for Quebec. Kumpel, the long one, right on target, and Penny sweeps it away to Curvers. 12.5 minutes to go. Here, 2-on-1 break for Montreal. Flackhart, dressed for the first time tonight in the playoffs. He has scored a goal and doing a good job for Montreal tonight. Off the boards and intercepted by Marois. Marois heads in with the attack, the shot, and it goes wide. McPhee for the Canadiens, ridden to the boards by Paymont. Cote takes a shove from Robinson. It squirts in front, but again, as most of the night, Montreal beats Quebec to the puck. Maxwell around Walter, but cannot get past Robinson. 11 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in this third period, and Montreal sitting on a 3-goal lead in Quebec City. The lead pass goes ahead to Cote, and this is Peter Stastny picking up speed, but he is bodied out of the play. So Montreal getting the body in front, keeping the Nordiques from in front of the goal. And the Nordiques getting impatient and going offside. With the score, Montreal 5 and Quebec 2, USA's exclusive Stanley Cup coverage, and will continue.
Only World Gymnastics champion Kurt Thomas can be master of Gymkata. The skill of gymnastics. The kill of karate. Gymkata. Rated R. Starts Friday, May 3rd. Check newspapers for a theater near you.
Al, the game plan for the Canadiens pretty simple right now. Wingers pick up your wingers. Defense stand up on the blue line and just try to shut them down, slow the game down as much as you possibly can. Don't give the Nordiques any momentum.
It will appear as if there are 6 or 7 Montreal skaters out there to the 5 of the Nordiques. Ludwig over skates, but he got the blade on it to kick it back so he could retreat to his defensive position. 11 minutes left in the third. Quebec has a mountain to climb. Stastny pulled down, and there will be a penalty, so Mats Naslund does not help the Montreal cause, as he will be going off for 2 minutes. For our local systems, we'll pause now. It's the Stanley Cup playoffs only on USA Sports.
Saturday night, Jerry and Mark were on their way home from a high school party. Jerry had been drinking. He ran off the road and Mark was killed. Can a claim be made against the insurance company? At Abeda and Nelson, we're experts in personal injury and accidental death cases. There's no charge to discuss your case with us and no fee unless we recover for you. If there's been an accidental death or injury in your family, call us at Abeda and Nelson. We're the firm that gets results.
Mats Naslund guilty of holding here, and holding the big scorer for the Quebec Nordiques, Peter Stastny, number 26, who you could see going down to his knees. Naslund in the penalty box holding 9:15 is the call. Well, this gives the Nordiques a chance to get some momentum.
Naslund only had 7 penalties throughout the course of the season. And the steal is made, but it is Sauvé keeping it in for Quebec. Ashton behind the net for Gillis. This is actually the checking line for Quebec. Right in front, Sauvé, the shot, and it goes wide. Sauvé races it down. Marois puts it in front, and it is rejected by Penny, and it sets up a break for Gainey. Gainey with Marois back, puts on the brakes, sees nothing, and he sends it all the way back into his zone. 35 seconds gone by in this Quebec power play. Guy Carbonneau dragging the puck for Montreal, and he shoots it in, and now the Nordiques have to go back and set up once again. Marois leading the charge to center. Onto the stick of Peter Stastny. Back pass, he was in the slot, might have had something. Marian Stastny, the older of the Stastny brothers. And it goes back. I should say the oldest of the 3. Marian, 30 years old. Here is Peter Stastny. Puts on the brakes. Decides to go with it. Side of the net to Marian. Looks for the stuff. but Penny got enough of that.
Nice try, though, right across the goal crease.
30 seconds left on the power play. Bruce Bell cranks it out now for Quebec. Bell, 2 men watching him. And it is slapped down.
I just wonder whether or not that eye piece, the shield over Anton Stastny's eye, maybe prohibits him from judging that puck coming across, as he usually has excellent timing on situations like that.
And the Nordiques get booed from their crowd on the power play. They are called for icing the puck.
Only 3 seconds remaining in Naslin's penalty, and as you look at Craig Ludwig, one of the defensemen for the Canadiens that has done a fine job in situations such as killing off penalties. The Canadiens' defense, though, have not really had to play the type of game they've had to at times in this series. They have not been put in positions where their noses have been up against the plexiglass in their own end zone. That's because the Nordiques have not done the forechecking they're capable of doing. He's got to be wondering what's going on with his hockey club.
The Quebec Nordiques, since coming into the NHL, have always been an enigma. High-flying team, high-scoring team. And the question of heart and character and putting it all together, all surfacing when you talk about the Quebec Nordiques. Actually, those are the same questions being talked about the Minnesota North Stars before their brilliant comeback the other night. Gosselin lets it go by as Naslund comes out of the box, and the team's now at equal strength. We are down to just 8.5 minutes left in this third period as Montreal tries to bring it back home for game number 7 Thursday night. Looking to escape elimination here in Quebec City. Paymont pokes it ahead on a falling Ludwig, but Natras goes back to help out his teammate, Cote. And Penny puts it behind the goal. The shot by Paymont, and that just dribbles wide. And Moeller for the Quebec Nordiques. Across to Cote. Up ahead to Paymont. And right out of the stick of Natras to the Canadiens.
Al, you remember the other night when Michel Goulet could not play, and we said the Quebec Nordiques had to dig down a little deeper. But remember who it was that really dug down the deepest, and that was Dale Hunter. He was our mobile star of the game, and I think they're really missing him tonight.
Jimmy Mann leads the attack in front, and Sauvé overskates. Kumpel plays it back to Sauvé. Sauvé with 2 men on him, completely smothered by the Montreal defense. 7.5 left in the third period. Robinson picking up speed as he winds out of his own zone. Robinson comes up to the red line. Robinson to the Quebec line. Can't split the defense, but McPhee, a bullet, but that went way wide. And there's Flockhart to get back to it. Montreal beating Quebec to the puck. Time and again, Flockhart trying to stick handle through a couple of Nordiques. And now the time wasting down to 7 minutes to go. Flockhart had the right idea, but only a Nordique was there. This will be another icing call against Quebec as Tom Curvers goes back to get it with 6 minutes and 56 seconds left in the third period. Live Stanley Cup playoff coverage coast to coast only on USA.
In 1982, Toyota introduced the standard bed truck for $59.98, and it was a winner. Now, 3 years later, Toyota introduces a new standard bed truck with a more efficient engine, with more horsepower, and a warranty that's twice as long as 1982 for $59.98. Who says you have to pay a high price for progress? Right now, cash incentives to dealers can save you big money on a cargo van or truck.
The Quebec bench perhaps thinking about another trip before this season continues or is over.
Al, in this building tonight, 18 people were caught in the elevator, and they were caught in the elevator for over an hour. Now, that's just ironic that there are 18 players, skaters on the Quebec Nordiques tonight, and Michel Bergeron, after this game, may be over and on the losing end, may be wondering whether or not 18 of his players were the people in the elevator.
I thought you were going to say, and they missed nothing. All right, we have 6:45 left. And the Montreal Canadiens sitting on a 5-2 lead throughout this third period of play. Natras off the boards. And it is Carbonneau squeezes by Bell. The pass out to Gainey. He drops an island. He shoots. Saved by Gosselin. With Carbonneau parked right in the crease. Carbonneau has it to Gainey. His shot smothered by Bell. 6 minutes, 20 seconds to go in the third period. As Gosselin comes out, Gosselin not as sharp as he has been in the playoffs. And then again, not really getting much help in front. Penny lets it go, beaten to the puck by Ashton. And Carbonneau comes way back. That's what you call back checking. Ashton, he shoots on the screen, and it is blocked in front. And now Naslund alone with Moeller. Naslund tries the moves, and he is dropped to the ice. Ashton is back for Quebec, and Mondeau covers him up, with Tremblay also on the scene. The Canadiens are inspired with this game here tonight. Looking forward now to Thursday night. 5.5 minutes. They'll be heading back there if Quebec doesn't pull off a miracle finish here.
Interesting that this has been the tamest game of all the games in this series. Not a misconduct or a major penalty so far tonight.
Price weaving his way through. Cote has some time, and he backhands that way wide into the other corner. Paymon in front to Cote. The quick shot goes wide. Price throws it in front. Rebound, and Penny at the right place at the right time. Live Stanley Cup playoff coverage, coast to coast, only on USA Sports. We'll be right back.
This dip is filthy.
Yeah, isn't it great?
Hey, where's the mobile station?
Why go there?
Mobile Super Unleaded gives my turbo better performance than ordinary gasoline.
Take a left at the sofa.
Do I make a right at the sofa to get to the mobile station?
Why?
My car runs better on higher octane Mobile Super Unleaded.
Take a left. That stuff really works.
The votes are being tabulated for the mobile player of the game, and he will be joining Al Trautwig at the end of tonight's game. We have 4 minutes and 57 seconds left in the third period, and Montreal leading at 5-2. Coming off game number 5, in which the Canadiens were embarrassed on their home ice by the tune of 5-1. But as Gary had mentioned, we're talking about Michel Goulet with his injury, and he decides to play. Perhaps the heart and soul of this Quebec team is actually Dale Hunter, who is out with a bad hand after a fight with Mario Tremblay. 4.5 minutes now to go. As Marois behind his net wraps it around, and Bobby Smith keeps it in. Smith looking in front for Deblois. And now the Nordiques bust out. Anton Stastny along with Jimmy Mann.
Quebec just can't get anything going at all. They can't carry that puck over the blue. They have not been doing any dumping and chasing.
And that shot is wide. Comes in front. And now Quebec with a chance, but 3 Canadiens are back.
Their passing has been horrendous, really, Alan. I just can't believe that Quebec, after having played such an excellent game in Montreal in game number 5, have come into this game tonight and almost seem not prepared to pay the price.
Quebec has but 5 shots on goal in this third period. Here is Carver's walking in, cross ice. And it comes across the crease again with 3 minutes and 39 seconds to go in the third. Mulder over the line. Can't get around Curvers, who has played a strong game for Montreal. Peter Stastny putting on the moves. Eludes the stick. The shot, the tip by Ashton. And Montreal with Robinson brings it to center, finds that opening, and rolls it down. We come down now to 3 minutes and 15 seconds to go. When you're 3 behind, it's tough to catch up by taking only 5 shots. Here's the backhand as Penny able to handle that one. That's shot number 6 by the Nordiques. Carbonneau. That goes off the arm of Van Hellemond, the referee. As Montreal comes out with 3 minutes left, Van Hellemond takes it on the arm. Carbonneau works the give and go. Right in front again, and it is cleared by Bell. Bell turned around by Gainey. And now Bell comes to center. Stick handling through. Kumpel. And Natras turns him around. The point. Bell the slapper. Penny comes way out and makes the stop. Kumpel sandwiched. Right in front as Gillis' shot is hammered wide. Gillis again strikes at the pop. As Carbonneau sits on it behind the net, gets the whistle with 2 minutes and 18 seconds left in this third period. Let's go downstairs now to Al Troutwig.
Al, we know Bob Gainey once received the Selke Trophy as the league's most outstanding defensive forward. Tonight, he's been one of the major offensive forces for the Montreal Canadiens. In addition to his play, Guy Carbonneau has helped spark the Montreal Canadiens. And, surprisingly, Ron Flockhart. Flockhart starting in his first playoff game tonight for Montreal, and he was on the ice for the opening faceoff. One of those three, it looks like right now, will be our mobile player of the game. So join me when the final buzzer sounds in this one.
Al, I was talking about the roughness of this series so far. Coming into tonight's game, there had been 90 minor penalties, 23 majors, 6 misconducts, and 2 match penalties. We have had a very tame contest here tonight. Maybe both teams are getting pretty tired of playing the aggressive roles.
Well, you wonder what's left for game number 7, Thursday night in Montreal. 2 minutes to go in this one. And the Quebec Nordiques need a miracle now to keep them from going back to Montreal on Thursday. And now's a time that perhaps frustrations will take hold and tempers may flare with 2 minutes on the nose remaining.
Well, if the Quebec Nordiques were smart right now, they'd stay out of it because they're going to need all the energy they can possibly gather up to take this series back to Montreal for game number 7. Only 2 minutes remaining, and the Canadiens with a commanding 5-2 lead.
And some of the questions. Steve Penny, is his back better, or perhaps is he stiffening up a little more for another game on Thursday? Will Dale Hunter come back for Thursday's game? The hand will have to be pretty bad for him to keep him out. There's Price from the point, and Penny moving and getting that back down pretty well for the end of this game. 1:50 to go. 5-2 Montreal leads as they are about to pull it off, coming into Quebec, facing elimination and beating the Nordiques. Realize Montreal has been here during the regular season and the playoffs 7 times, and they tonight will post their 6th victory. Smith, he shoots, saved by Gosselin. Well, ironically, the crowd here singing the goodbye song. Question, who are they singing it to?
Let's take a look at a save that Gosselin makes as the Canadiens just very cool and calmly bring it into the Nordiques end zone and just put that shot on net. Right now with a comfortable 5-2 lead, Al, they are just concentrating on defense. McPhee, number 35, jumps out of the way just before number 15, Bobby Smith, takes that shot.
From the point, Ludwig the shot, and it's tipped wide. Well, when you keep it in the offensive zone, you don't have to worry about defense. It slides right through. I think this could be the first time that a home crowd sang the goodbye song to their team. Here is Walter racing for it, but Bell gets it back.
One thing you have to remember here in Quebec City, though, that they have always had this situation whereby there's probably at least 7,000 or 8,000 people in this building tonight that may even live in Quebec City but have been Montreal Canadian fans for so long they have not been converted.
Just under a minute to go in this hockey game. I think we can safely say, as a face-off will be now outside the Quebec blue line.
Let's face it, the Canadiens have done an excellent job tonight at playing between the 2 blue lines. They have shut the powerful offense of the Quebec Nordiques down, has made it difficult for them to play their type of game. And Bergeron's got to be frustrated because he knew that they had the abilities tonight to send the Montreal Canadiens packing to the golf course, and they just did not squeeze.
Rushford plays it ahead as Gillis flips the floater in there that Penny takes. Moeller from the point. Realize here's Penny coming into this game with back problems. Has one of his better games of the series, holding Quebec only to 2 goals.
Nice way to come into this game, though, Al, when you have got a back problem, because the Nordiques really allowed Penny to ease himself back into play.
Just 17 seconds left. And you hear some of those Montreal fans responding. Now some of the chorus of boos. Here is Kumpel breaking in. 8 seconds left. The countdown right in front, kick back away, 2 seconds, 1, and there is the siren to end the game. The Montreal Canadiens have survived. They come into Quebec City and beat the Nordiques to set up a 7th and final game in the Battle of Quebec, Thursday night in Montreal. The shots on goal in that third period for Quebec, 9, for Montreal, 5. Total shots for the 3 periods of play, the Canadiens with 27 shots on goal and the Quebec Nordiques with 24. Coming up, our mobile player of the game will be joining Al Trotwig to talk about this one, the final score. The Montreal Canadiens 5, the Quebec Nordiques 2. And we'll return with our mobile player of the game right after this.
Bartender's next big league pitcher and loves to serve fire-brewed Strohs. See what I mean? That was his fastball. That was the curve. Look out. Wild pitch.
What was that?
Relief pitcher.
Strohs and Stroh Light, fire brewed for smoother taste.
Let Toyota's lowest priced car, the Toyota Tercel, take you over the rainbow.
Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
There's a new movement sweeping the country. The 1985 Toyota van. So innovative, it'll change the way you think about vans. Seats 7 and gives you the best gas mileage of any van you can buy. The Toyota van.
Coming up on USA, you'll take a look at Dragnet, then the Gun Show, followed by Make Me Laugh. All that when we sign off here at Le Colisée in Quebec City, where the final score was the Montreal Canadiens 5 and the Quebec Nordiques 2, sending this one to a Game 7. There was no scoring in the third period as both these teams just played most of the game in the center ice area for that third period. The Montreal Canadiens playing a fabulous defensive third. Here's our mobile player of the game, Ron Flockhart, a goal and an assist. He learned he was going to start in this one during warm-up. Nothing like last-minute getting ready.
Yeah, they don't give you much time to even worry about it. Jacques came out to me and asked if I was ready, and had a big grin came over my face. I said, I'm ready, and so he put me out there.
Ron, you said glad to be back. I guess really when you sit out and watch 10 playoff games, you really don't feel like a part of things.
No, it's tough. I think the toughest part is you feel so helpless because really the only way you can help the guys is maybe in practice is, you know, tell a few jokes or keep them loose, and hopefully it'll help in a little way. And it paid off, I guess, because Jacques liked my attitude, and he knew I was ready to play, so he put me out there.
Well, Ron Flockhart was on the ice for the opening face-off. The Montreal Canadiens scored at 45 seconds. He was on the ice for the second period, and the Montreal Canadiens scored again at 36 seconds. Tell me about the goal, Ron.
Well, I mean, Guy Carbonneau and Mike McPhee did all the work in the corner, and I was just out in front, and they gave it to me, and wrist shot. I didn't even have time to think about it. I just let it go, and it went in, and I'm really excited about it.
Heck of a shot. I noticed during warm-up, and I wonder if I'm wrong about this, the Canadiens seem to be taking an awful lot of high shots with no goaltender in the net, and they seem to be doing it for an extraordinary amount of time. Was there a consensus in the locker room that beating Goslin was beating him high?
Well, the young goaltenders played really well, and I've watched all 5 games, and I've, you know, thought constantly that his first initial shot, he goes down. So the guys look at this, and on the video you can see it, and Jacques and the assistant coaches both pointed out to you. So it is maybe a mental preparation where you just take some high shots to see if the stick is right or the curve is right. So tonight, though, we didn't really beat them that high. It was all pretty well midsection or low goals. So it's just a mind over matter thing, I think, really.
There must have been many times tonight where you looked around alone in the crease and said, where's the defense? There's nobody here. Quebec seemed to let the Canadiens into the crease and the slot an awful lot.
Well, I think that was one of our game plans tonight, was to get more guys in front of the net. And Quebec defense are big, tough defensemen, and they were there, but maybe not as aggressive as they should have been, but you still feel them once in a while.
You mentioned aggressive, and of course you weren't in Game 5, but Dale Hunter, of course, is a man who makes the Nordiques move in many, many ways. He wasn't in the game tonight. Did you sense a tremendous absence there?
Yeah, I do, because Dale Hunter, he's one of those players who's like a Kenny Linsman, or there's a few other in the league that love to be hated by the fans and the players. You know, and the guy's got a heart of gold. Even though he's disliked maybe by the opponents, boy, he's the reason Quebec does so well is because he works hard and he's got a heart the size of a mountain. So that's one point in their favor.
Strange series in that it really doesn't seem to matter what arena you're in for one team to win over another. Montreal was listless in Game 5 at home, and now here at home with a chance to win it all. Quebec is the team that was really listless. Why? Do you have any theories?
Well, I've came to maybe my own philosophy on it. I noticed when I first broke into the league, home ice advantage was a big factor, and now it don't mean nothing. You go into anyone's building, and if they're not hot and ready to play, you can beat them. And we've seen play really well in Quebec, and vice versa. They play pretty well in Montreal. So it's going to be a tough game, the 7th game, and that home ice advantage don't mean nothing. We got to come out ready to play.
Ron, one of the people that may be happy for you was Bob Clark. He was our guest in the second intermission, your old teammate with the Philadelphia Flyers. I wish I had asked him at the time what he thought of your game up until that point, because you were playing well already after 2 periods of play. What do you think he might have said?
Well, I don't know. He might be listening, and I hope we play them in the next round. But Clarkie was a big part of my career. I had him and Darryl Sittler, so I've had the 2 best in the league when I played for Philly, and they both taught me a lot about the game, and I'm sure Clarkie would have had maybe a few good points to say about me, I hope, anyways.
You step on the ice, you didn't know you were going to play till the warm-up, now you're out there for the opening face-off. I'm sure you're thinking in your mind, boy, I want to prove to Jacques Lemaire that I belong on the ice. I don't think you could have asked for a better statement in proof of that thought, do you?
Well, that's what I said to myself, but then again, I had to look at the thing. I didn't want to try and do too many things and get caught and end up being -3 on the night. So I tried just to control myself, and I had 2 great defensive players anyways, in Mike McPhee and Ryan Walters. So they sort of just told me to go out and do my game and to make sure I'm skating, and that's what I did, and it paid off.
So Ron Flockhart returns to the Montreal Canadiens lineup in a big way in the playoffs, and his efforts end up in a big win for Montreal. For being our mobile player of the game, we'd like Ron Flockhart to receive a beautiful analog digital quartz chronograph watch from Loris Quartz Watches and Clocks, and a handsome multicolored windbreaker from Toyota Line's fine line of genuine sportswear. When we return on USA, we'll be wrapping things up at Le Colisée in Quebec City. The Adams Division final is going to go to a 7th and deciding game.
This bartender's next big league pitcher and loves to serve fire-brewed Strohs. See what I mean? That was his fastball. That was the curve. Look out. Wild pitch.
What was that?
Relief pitcher.
Strohs and Stroh Light, fire brewed for smoother taste.
Look how water can destroy unprotected wood, but not if it's protected with Thompson's Water Seal. Use Thompson's Water Seal waterproofer on dozens of surfaces. Brush on Thompson's for an invisible barrier that helps prevent water from entering and damaging brick, wood, and concrete. Your house isn't really protected until it's protected with Thompson's Water Seal. Many stores now have special values on Thompson's Water Seal.
Wow, is that Kawasaki's new Eliminator?
Yep.
Never seen anything like this on the street. I hear it'll turn 0 to 50 in less than 2.2 seconds.
Yep.
Don't suppose you let me see for myself?
Nope.
That's some bike, cowboy.
Oh, you like this big bad Eliminator sweet thing?
That's why I bought it.
Right now, during Kawasaki's Bash, test drive the Eliminator and get a free T-shirt.
Memories of the smiles we left behind, smiles we gave to one another.
Why trust moments like these to anything other than Kodak videotape? It captures the sights and sounds of every moment with color that's beautifully accurate, unmistakably Kodak.
For the way we were.
When the moment means more, trust it to Kodak videotape.
The final score here in Quebec City, the Montreal Canadiens 5 and the listless Quebec Nordiques 2. A strange game for the Nordiques at home tonight. They'll go to a 7th and deciding game in this, the Adams final series. Meanwhile, at the Met Center in Bloomington, Minnesota, with the North Stars facing elimination. Chicago leading in the series 3-2, but in the second period, this game is tied 2-2. Tony McKegney, the former Nordique, really having a great game. The thing that really strikes me about this series going to a 7th and deciding game was before the first game even began, Gary Green and I were talking, and he said, you know, it's really strange. I just spoke to the little Tiger Michel Bergeron, who's the coach of Quebec, and he told me that he feels this series is going to go 7 games. Well, certainly he's a prophet, isn't he? But a strange thing for a coach to say. Let's hear what Gary and Al have to say about it.
Now, after watching this game, which team do you predict would win game number 7? Well, certainly you'd have to say Montreal, but if you saw game number 5 and would have to predict who would have won this game, you would have said Quebec.
Well, if you ask me, I'm going to say it's going to be Quebec because they started out winning the first game of the series, and ever since that point in time, Al, they've just simply taken turns. So if you come right down to it, it's Quebec's turn to win game number 7. But when you consider the fact that you're going back into the Montreal Forum, it's really going to be whoever is the best rested team, whoever is able to put enough bodies onto the ice to play this 7th and final game, and it's going to be all the little nagging injuries that we don't know about that are going to really tell the tale, I think.
It's a funny way how Montreal has gotten back to the home ice advantage. The first game was won by Quebec, so they got the home ice advantage. They have alternated victories since then, and now Montreal for game 7 has the home ice advantage, and that might not be the best thing.
Not necessarily, and I think when you look at a game number 7 situation in any sport, and definitely in any league, that you are faced with a situation with, yes, you do have the home fans in your favor, but on the other hand, you can look at the visiting team and saying they kind of have their backs to the wall, and they don't have that same pressure by the crowd. So when you add all of those things up, Al, I don't think that anybody really has a terrible amount of real control when you look at a game 7 situation. It's all going to come down to energy levels by the teams, and again, who can put the best bodies on the ice. Now, there's some big question marks that we've got going into game number 7. You brought up the one in the 3rd period. Can Dale Hunter play for game 7? I think that he is so important to this team, and I'm not the only one that thinks that way.
What about Michel Goulet? He played tonight but was not a factor in the game.
No, he wasn't. On the other hand, Michel Goulet really didn't get knocked around an awful lot out there tonight, too. So that can be in Quebec's favor. There weren't any times where Michel Goulet was really in a corner whereby he got run by the Montreal Canadiens. And so he may have been able to ease himself back into the lineup and get himself a couple more days rest until that big game 7.
All right, let's go over the other team, the Montreal Canadiens. Steve Penny surviving, gave up 2 goals to Quebec, playing with a bad back. And it's a question of whether that back may stiffen up on him again for game number 7. But also Chris Chelios. You figure Chelios was not being rested for game 6. He just could not go with the bad knee. They're not going to rest Chelios when they face elimination. So what about game 7?
Well, it all depends on how bad that injury is to Chris Chelios. You're not going to rest him if, in fact, you are faced in a game 7 situation, which they are, and you know you need him in the lineup. On the other hand, if it's such an injury to his knee whereby it could damage the career of a fine young defenseman like Chelios, then regardless of the outcome of the game, you're not going to risk Chris Chelios. I would think, however, that just judging by the way that Chris Chelios was able to play in game number 5 and the fact that Chris Chelios was able to at least walk around tonight and do some skating, I think you'll see him back in game 7.
All right, Al Trautwig, it goes to a 7th and final game, and we leave you up here with a reminder that Quebec has won 2 of the 3 games played at the Montreal Forum in the series.
Al, if I was on the Starship Enterprise, I think I'd turn around and say, Scotty, beam me over to Crescent Street in Montreal. There's probably a huge party of relief going on right now. That's the center of the Canadian supporters and the partying in downtown Montreal, and I'm sure they're having a good time right now, realizing that the Canadiens are on their way home, not hanging their heads in defeat, but holding their heads high. They needed a great game from themselves tonight. They got it, and this is going to go to the 7th and final game. The final score once again, the Montreal Canadiens 5 and the Quebec Nordiques 2 here in Quebec City. The Stanley Cup playoffs on USA have been brought to you by Toyota's exciting cars and trucks for 1985. Toyota invites you to see them at your local dealer. By Stroh's and Stroh Light, official sponsors of the National Hockey League. By Mobil One Synthetic Motor Oil. You can't buy better engine protection. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? Thursday night, there'll be a Game 7 in this series, maybe also in the Norris Division Final. Either way, we'll have a Game 7 for you on USA. Check it out at 7:30 or 8:30 Eastern Time. We're not quite sure which game we'll have for you yet. Either way, we'll also have the Conference Championships beginning on Saturday night here on USA. Until the next game, I'm Al Trautwig for Al Albert and Gary Green saying goodnight from Le Colisée. The executive producer of USA Sports is Jim Zray. Tonight's game was produced by Mark D. Stolberger and directed by Pierre Gagnon. Our associate producers, Tim Rapley and Stephen Better.
There is magic in the game of football.
The Stanley Cup.